Whoop. Okay. Alright, we are hopefully live anyways, gotta check. God, my sinuses chose a bad day. Although it's kind of nasty outside, so it's probably triggering it. Weather's kind of humid today. Welcome, chat. Alright, we are live. Welcome, welcome. Good, 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 good. I had to double check. A rare sight of YouTube sending the notifications on time today, right? Also, welcome, Fasio. That is a rare, and so maybe that means this day is a little bit more normal today. Well, normal except for the fact we're doing Doom. Other than that, I gotta turn my phone down. Alright, 1 second, everyone. I will give a second for everyone to still join up, just in case, but it is at least comforting to know that notifications kind of popped immediately today. I got back a lot quicker today than I thought I would. Yesterday was just a total, as y'all can tell, since there was no stream last night. Before I come back here in a few minutes, face-wise, last night was a total bomb. It didn't work out. I got back way too late for anything to be done. So I was like, yeah, no. Because by the time I would have been able to start after everything I had to do to prep for today, what I had to do this morning, yeah, it would have been 8:30, 9 o'clock when we would have started if I had. So I was like, yeah, that sadly ain't happening. There's no way in hell we're gonna be able to do that. So I have a question. Why hasn't Shredder been in it? Huh. That's a good point. Well, I guess because technically, it's a double-edged sword with that one. Because I get why you say that, and it actually would make sense. And there are darker universes of TMNT, but I guess since it's a kids character, or he's a villain of a kids show. I guess they see that's a little touchy grounds. I mean, it might be just simple as no one's ever tried. It could be just that, but I mean, if they have tried or the discussion has come up and it was denied, I can only see the reason being most likely they don't want too much association with that kind of game, being that adult level of a game, violence-wise, with a children's show, because this means more children might play Mortal Kombat. See the the crux of the issue there. So I could see now, of course, if this was a proper actual world, and I say that with a grain of salt, but also very realistic from the stuff I've seen before when it comes to parents. This is supposed to be the parents' responsibility, though. This is supposed to be, hey, maybe you shouldn't buy your 8-year-old Mortal Kombat. Hold on, let me bring my face back just for a second. I've seen it. I'll be right back. I have seen it. It's terrible. Absolutely awful. Oh, yeah. Is he no Shredder? Yeah, and that's good. That's the thing, too. He's got the perfect weapon. Hell, technically, realistically, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles themselves would be a cool Mortal Kombat character throwout. Now, most of the Turtles' fatalities would just be whatever weapon they're using. They'd use it in different ways. and then they'd all probably have one fatality that's the same. That they all go super turtle mode on their ass, and just bite their head off like a snapping turtle or some shit. I'm actually, yeah, because I like doing like, what do you call it, hypothetical development with games. Because me, I've always wanted to make my own game or story or something like that or something. Even though or in my case now, back to my roots that I'm going robots. But overall, in general, I just like to like make things in my mind and kind of come up with the concept of what this would be like. It'd definitely be some sort of snapping turtle. It'd probably be their animality, right? Their animality is they go full feral and they turn into a giant snapping turtle and just munch munch. It'd be a hilarious, and Splinter's just a Skaven. He's just smarter. He's a Grey Seer. So he's got a hidden brutality he never talks about. We all know it. I mean, what's his name with the hockey mask is just like a Jason with a hockey stick. And... oh man, man, I'm just coming to. I don't know what they do for what is her name? April. What would April do though? I don't think she'd be in the game. She'd either be fully, completely ignored, or there's be some quirk with it. She uses electricity and like electronics to like trap you and zap you and something like that. I don't know. Oh my god. I would like to remind people Shredder beat Batman in a 1v1. That is true. Although, I saw that battle. I don't want to go into too many semantics, but my brain's like, I don't know if I saw what they were getting at, and I understand it, and there's a part of me that does agree, but some part of me feels like there's a bit of tomato going on there, and that maybe they didn't know quite who truly would win. But I'm gonna point one natural fact out, and to me, and I love death battles and things like that put together that do these things, but some of them are a little bit of a stretch in some cases. Now, the recent one was accurate. No offense to Chief. They actually probably gave him more credit than they probably could have. Because the only way, and I'm going to break this down, and they did say this, by the way. It's just some battles I don't totally agree with. That one was completely on par, but that's a pretty easy battle to call. And once again, giving Chief a lot more credit. He's a badass. He's super strong. But he isn't going around punching building-sized demons in the face and making them actually get stunned by it. Okay? Do you know how much strength requires that? That's Captain America levels of stupidity of punching Galactus. You know. Sorry, Chief. You know. And even with his hyper-intelligence, this would only last so long. And that's probably what the fight was representing, is that he's hyper-intelligent, and that's probably the one thing I'll give. Chief is definitely going to have the upper hand in that aspect. Doom is badass, but you can admit and look at the way he kind of handles equipment. Yeah, he doesn't understand totally what the equipment is. He's just using it. As long as it does its duty, that's all he cares. Whereas Chief actually is intrinsically linked to this, and because super Spartans are also brain enhanced because they're super soldiers as well, it's not a argent energy situation going on. That makes him smarter. So I'll give him that. But yeah, in real life, it's more about what are you really going to hurt him with? Realistically, even if he was smart and tried to trap him and put him in some like Forerunner field, dude broke out of a demonic seals. I'm pretty sure the Forerunners can't compete. Dude's a god killer. when you get that kind of level of strength, you require Dante. Dante is the only one I legitimately think could kill Doomslayer. The only one out there. Maybe Bayonetta, but that's touching a whole nother because she couldn't fully beat Dante. But there's a whole big semantic there because once again, Dante had his brother's sword, and the sword is dimensional and breaks dimensions and slows time down, which kind of cheated her. So, meh. So, double-edged sword on that fight, even though I do love my boy Dante, but it was Virgil who ran that fight, okay? Virgil is the true winner here. Turns out, just send in Virgil. That's a poke back at an old friend if he ever sees these videos. I don't think he ever would, but it's like see, I would have loved a Titus versus Chief fight more because exactly. I agree with that, 100%. That would be an insane fight. That would. That'd be like no. Here's a better one. Who's someone who is also a super soldier, and no one can say he's not because now we know he's got their DNA in him, and his family technically are hybrids. Marcus Phoenix. Marcus Phoenix versus Master Chief would have made way more sense because it's closer to what Doomslayer is, but on a human super soldier dynamic level that actually could exist. And what I mean by this, no offense to Doomslayer, the only way something like this man ever could reach this kind of potential would require quantum physics level like energy and production of energy in the body that would set him on fire. So the body would have to undergo mutations that it would actually be able to have to handle heat almost equivalent to basically a fusion reactor. Because as fast as Doomslayer realistically moves, and there's a lot of this with a lot of characters in real life, if they tried to exist in realism, they wouldn't exist that way either. Now, once again, according to his lore, there is cheaty ways around this of why it's explained he can do this. And there is something I can go into that I want to kind of do when we do Dark Ages, my own version of because this is one of my favorite YouTubers to watch. I'm nowhere near his skill level. If you want to watch his videos, I'll give him a shout out at when we do that. But because he's a badass. But I do have a hypothetical scenario where maybe something like Slayer could actually exist as a human, or something that's not otherworldly or made out of just different stuff, as they say. Because there is materials out there and things out there that could withstand it, but as far as we know, there's no one that could be made out of this. So, besides a machine, right? So it's like, but that's cheating. Okay, where machines are cheating, where they're not on the table right now. But see, but there's so many like cool examples like that. But once again, I love the Slayer though. He's badass. But once again, saying that he would take that long to even hold him off. Then it's going back to it would have almost been better if that thing that had Master Chief. It was that little short thing like Love, Death, and Robots. It was about video games. It'd have been better if they had both been in that and they just ended up working alongside of each other. You know how many butts in the seats that would do? You know how much money something like that would make? But yet, to this day, and this is we're going to begin here soon. We've been sitting here long enough, waiting, giving everyone a chance to join up. I still don't understand. And also, I want to give a quick shout out to someone. You need to go check out his video on this. Legendary Drops finally covered the prices and the thing going on with the video game industry and the thing we talked about and the thing Tam King mentioned. Yeah, it was a 7-hour video, and I mean, 7 hours is a long time to sit through, but I do recommend seeing it and also just checking out the channel because he's got a lot of informative stuff when it comes to the video game industry. One of the few people who gives actual honest opinions and reviews of stuff and talks about things and stuff like that. It has to do with the video game industry altogether. But yeah, uh, he said something in that video that is exactly right. It's 100% accurate. When are these developers going to realize how good they really have it and stop using their power egotistically and use it like a businessman? Because it's driven from a place of ego, all of this stuff. Because they already have money. It's not about business anymore. They don't care. And that's true. And it's like, so, and that's my big take on that. Because, once again, you don't have to have them fight each other. They can fight each other in the beginning for like 30 seconds, because that's about how long Chief would last before someone would have to interrupt before Doomslayer kills him. No offense to Chief. And I get maybe that's the whole reason they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to trounce Chief too hard, but you could drum it up a little bit, just like Death Battle did, in my opinion. It's like to make it where he can't just oust him in 30 seconds, technically. But it's like, but then have it where he finds out he's not a demon. He ain't working for UAC. Hell, realistically, and I'm gonna say something real talk right now about that situation. Do you not think that he would not see Chief as a sentinel? I want to say this realistically. No one's saying out loud. Look at his suit on the screen right now. It's not totally like it, but look at the similarities in the helmet and in the chest piece and in the legs. He'd think he's a fucking sentinel. So he would not hurt him at all. Unless Chief fired first. Now, if Chief fired first, there might be a problem. It's like he did. There might be an issue going on in the next 10 seconds. Because that's how long he's going to be before he's in front of you. Once again, the speed is insane. So, but otherwise, it's like they could have had it where the Forerunners somehow made contact with the UAC or the Makers, or we'll use the Makers, and they got like Helltech and Argent energy generators, and it propelled their already powerful Forerunner tech into the oblivion, because that's probably the one thing the Forerunners weren't as good at as the Makers and the Demons are, or the Ancient Ones as we're going to call them until I bust a certain bubble when we get to the DLC and to Dark Ages. Because then they'd have a natural enemy. It would have been the craziest short in the entire existence of mankind. It would have become a phenomenon on the internet. And it would have propelled any new Halo sales through the roof. I swear, does anyone know how to business anymore? I don't think they do. And then he talked about a lot of other things going on, and I'm not getting on all that. If you want to see that stuff going on with the price stuff and certain things and the console industry and certain things that he did say, I also said, I want to point out that kind of run hand in hand now, and I'm like, yeah, see, I kind of said that was going to happen, and I'm not by expert is by any means. I am not no expert. No. I'm just some random Joe Schmo guy, but. I mean, if I'm starting to recognize that now, doesn't that say a lot about the industry, though? Like, he's a professional. I want to say that, by the way. He does this for a living. That's why I love that his reviews are still natural and he still actually calls it like it is. But I'm just some random dude. Yet I can see this stuff now and somewhat call it out loud. Now, granted, I've been in video gaming just happenstance because I've been a consumer of video gaming, just a gamer myself since I was literally. And I know most people that probably don't fully believe this when I say it out loud. I wasn't as good by any means, but as I am now. But 3 years old, or like 2 to 3 years old, because gaming is what taught me how to use my feet properly as a disabled person. So I've been involved in the industry just by happenstance, just watching what it does and buying games, and then going to college for a little while trying to get into the game industry for just development purposes, but then realizing that's a nightmare. I don't want to deal with that. That's especially what's even more so now. So, and that's another thing. I don't know. The I don't, because I haven't fully got to finish watching it myself. I'm only halfway through. Like I said, 7 hours is a long time, but it was an important and very big topic to cover, and a lot of things had to be said. So, but I will say I don't know if he's covered this, but it's like this kind of toxicity. Before we get into this, that's going on in the industry, also doesn't want any. It doesn't promote anyone or make anyone excited or want to get into this field. Meaning they look at this and see, no, that is not viable. That's only for the people who are already in there until it collapses and then Dundeezo, as they say. So it's like I got out of that. That's why I tilted back where I'm going. I'm going into AI and robotics because it's going to be a required industry. One, two. I already loved it when I was a kid, so I should have not ran away from what my interests were to begin with. Three, it, it's one of those things that as a disabled person too, and this is just me, by the way. I'm not saying this for anybody else. Um, is like because everybody's different and has their own interests, but for the third one is me being disabled and all this. This is the perfect field for me to get into and not only make change for myself, but for other disabled who AI and robotics could greatly help improve our lives since we are physically unable to do certain things. Not everything, depends on the disability. It ranges from minor to sometimes some people just don't have no motion in their body and hardly can do anything at all. So help this across the board, along with some other things I'm going to try to, once I'm big enough out in the world, to promote the research into and try to get it running again from the biological human standpoint. Because there is also another science that could also help with disability greatly that we abandoned because of certain politicians back in the day trying to promote something that was untrue about it, and that's stem cells. Because people tried to promote that the only way to get it was from a certain embryo. And no, that's false as hell. And it's like, it's very much procurable even in an adult, because adults produce them too. How do you think your body heals? Also, for the other channel, if you want a big shout out, Roanoke Gaming. That's how I've learned about stem cells more, and I've learned about genetics more, and about what caused my disability by just happenstance, understanding how certain things work in the body now. Just from him watching his videos on other stuff and talking about creatures and how they would exist properly within genetics, because he used to be a geneticist himself. I like it's like, so yeah, it's one of those things. Like, some things sadly got curtailed for terrible reasons that were not accurate at all. It's like, and it's like, but that plus coupled with AI and robotics to make it even easier. The sky's the limit, as they say, but it just feels like no one's even looking in this direction right now. So, enter me, I guess, or at least at some point, I'm on my way there. I don't care how long or how hard this journey will be, either. Too, we are gonna get there, chat. We're gonna get there, and I'm bringing you with me, chat. I know this sounds crazy now, but I will. I am not lying about this either. I. It may not always be as permanent in every day or every other day, but streaming will still be a part of my life. I've kind of melded myself with it. Like, it's kind of my other go-to thing that this is what I do when not only do I enjoy it, but I was trying to make it my main thing for a while, but then I realized, if something comes of it, sure, but it's a double-edged sword with the amount of funding I would have to and resources I need to properly, and I mean this wholeheartedly, right now, since I can't get a side job as much as most. Because here's a tip for most YouTubers: if you're not disabled like I am, this is for just most normal people. Um, have a side job so you can easily supplement and easily push and get yourself out there, whether it be media, trying to talk to people, maybe even hell, maybe even going out there and using some of your funds that you've saved up, putting out flyers even. And I'm talking about anything. Now that's a little extreme, maybe. I don't see YouTubers really doing that. But as far as like just in general, like with Facebook, because I have noticed if you really want to get somewhere, much like any business, you do need a little bit of oomph and a little bit of resource. We're gonna call it resources because I'm trying to play nice right now, even though it is money. We'll call it what it is at least once. At the end of the day, that I'm talking about. So, but that's a big tip. If you want to do YouTube and you're really serious about it, whatever you're trying to do on YouTube as a content creator, whether it be from Let's Plays, to cooking, to VTubing, to being a scientist, whatever. It's like, uh, just remember, the only true way you're gonna easily get out there, unless you get lucky, there is still, and don't get me wrong, this still can happen. There is still the off chance that boom, maybe you get sucked up into what's called the YouTube vacuum, and it just propels you at some random point, and you just get promoted here at this one special one moment, and you explode. That's very unlikely to happen. I don't want to put that in someone's head, so I just know that that's the least chance of that is probably you're not gonna like this number. I'm gonna give it a fair number, 5%. Unless for some reason you just happen to be noticed like a separate YouTuber. But even that's very low because the way that the algorithm works. And that's not me poking at the algorithm directly either. It does have its flaws that it needs to be addressed, and I do feel like YouTube ignores. We'll say that before we continue. But also, at the end of the day, it is one of those things that if you know it does this, then the only other way to get around it for now is to play by its rules and use its own do what it asks you and do that and promote to this and do that and whatever. And what I mean by this is like I said, the best thing to have yourself a side job. Just so you can have money for, let's say you're a Let's Player, games, or accessories, or building a rig you might need to start propelling into better content, which is, once again, not as easy, but it is doable. Now, I am, once again, the black sheep of this scenario and the odd man out or the venom in the room. I don't easily have this option because the way my disability is set up. If I go out and even try to get a job, let's say even because I can technically work at Walmart. I'm gonna even say that, even being in a wheelchair, I could go be a doorman greeting. But the amount, it's a double. It's like a crux sword because the amount of money I get paid as a doorman, and I probably wouldn't get regular hours. I'd probably only get maybe a couple days a week for only maybe, we're gonna say maybe they'd give me at most probably 4 to 6 hours. I bet. This is what I've seen with the application and the stuff that I've read. But here's the catch 22. If I make even an iota of any type of funds of any kind from business like that, or trying to work or take a job up like that, that means I have to lose my benefits disability wise. And I'm not joking on that, by the way. We're not going to go into a whole semantics and politics of that and how stupidly terrible that is, but it is what it is. But I mean this by any amount. It could be $10. If I make $10, now one of them will stay. I will have one check up until, like, I think if I make 500, and that one's reasonable. But even then, if you know which one stays, which one don't, I'll give you numbers that don't exist. That way, because I don't like giving out personal information on YouTube as it's not a safe idea. I'll give you some fake numbers. So, let's say I made, we'll put it pretty high just to give it from a more normal business job perspective. It's actually less than this, but I won't say what it exactly is. But 1,500. We'll go with 1,500. Let's say I made 1,500 from my current, what I am with my disabilities and all that, and what I get from federal, all that stuff. Okay. If I were to make, which I did the math to this so if that number is that number, then this for 1,500. So okay. So if I were to make 800 to 900 at all, that means now one of the benefits has gone away, but the other one has stayed. This locks it in at 800, 900. But did you notice something there? Oh, that seems to be a lower number than the top number. But here's the crux. The number that I gave you is not the number I get. If it were 1,500, I'd actually be able to probably sway that pretty hard and actually do what I want. And actually be able to not only pay my bills, because I do have to do that as well, just like anybody else, food and all the normal costs everyone else has to do, we all have to do. I'll give you the number I usually have left. On average, with how much I have to spend, plus YouTube when I do decide to put a little bit into it, like I did with Dark Ages and what do you call it, Oblivion, so we could have some more stuff to do for this month for our theme. Overall, that plus my rent, plus all, especially the stuff going on with my van right now, plus all of that. Right now, on average, because this number I can say out loud and it won't mean anything, and people it won't say too much other than how sad this is. I'm on average, I only have about $20 left a month, and that can happen anywhere depending on when all this happens at the part of the month. The bills and stuff happen at the beginning, but the stuff with the van and certain other things with the food and depending on where we are and everything else, that can fall sometimes towards the beginning as well. So we're talking like just in the first 10 days of the month, I'm already at $20. And that will be the rest of that way for the rest of that month until next month. Because when you're on these benefits, you only get paid once a month, not every 2 weeks. And that's where the balance would come in if it were high enough. But sadly, it's not. At least not for what I could just get right out the gate. Which is why the only alternative for someone in my situation, and I've had to come to terms with this, which is why I'm speed running my way back to my home as soon as I can, get my degree in my AI and robotics, and immediately jump into that. Because see, that, even an entry level version of that job will pay me triple the amount I would have. So that one's worth it. See, that's worth the change. But not if I had to work in like fast food or anything like normally I'd recommend this for anybody. Like always start and work your way up. But when you're disabled, there's some hurdles that get thrown at you that maybe, in my opinion, I will say are completely unnecessary and should not exist because it's not my fault I was born like this. And it's like, so, but we're not going to get into the semantics of that. That's too deep of a well. Way too deep. And that well can only be fixed if someone just takes the initiative. And that's what I intend to do. And so, anyways, enough of that craziness. Let's see. Chief Doom and Titus teaming up, and the UAC is not surviving next week. Wait a minute. Why did Death Battle choose Chief when Malum Cadio exists, the 40k equivalent of Doom Slayer from Bolt Gun? Who would have. That's true. That's a good point. That's. I'm about to come back here in a minute. We've been sitting here talking for far too long now, but I had to get that out and I had to discuss that because it is kind of how it works. And now y'all kind of know like some of the craziness I have to kind of float around a little bit. So when it comes to real life, so but that's also why the plan is the plan and what I've turned it into. But as I've realized, I just don't have too many other options. And I'm gonna say it. I don't mind saying my age. I don't care about this. This does not bother me saying this on YouTube. I'm 36. Okay, I'm now 36, and that number hit me like a couple weeks ago. I mean, I've already been doing this plan, but I like like something else hit me while I've been doing all this and trying to backtrack and go where I need to as fast as I can. I realized, holy crap, I'm 36. I'm almost 40. Oh no. What have I stupidly done? Now, there's still time, of course, as long as I don't screw up no more, which, trust me, I'd rather be ripped apart by a hell baron than screw up this time. That's the literal motivation of this. I'm literally in Slayer mode fully at this point. I am like, nope, it's not happening. Give me my double barrel, my chainsaw. Let's go, let's go. Say, I did see the trailer. Nah, I have my qualms already, but we'll talk. We'll talk about that another time. I need to delve into it more, and also and all that. Also, back one last major shout out once again to Legendary Drop. I definitely recommend people go check out his channel. He finally covered the thing that's been going on in the industry. The terrible, terrible elephant in the room that has uncovered itself. Even though I do think it's for a reason. Well, from one company's perspective, anyways. But because it wouldn't hurt them. But anyways, but once again, well, if you want the true full breakdown, it is a long video. It's about 7 hours. So, but it was covering a lot. So, but I do recommend that. But yeah. But it's, I like. But as far as GTA 6 is concerned, we'll see. I've still got my chip on the table just because what saw me was good looking, but I don't know if I would say from a gameplay pure perspective, not expective, although it is at this point an expective because you've had 5 other games. I don't know. I don't know. I think the end is nigh. That's all I'll say. And I'm not the only one. I think we are seeing the issues truly come to the surface I kind of predicted. And I'm like, I like that they introduced more characters. I'll give them more credit as due. At least they finally had more staff. Because my brain's like, or characters, I mean staff by characters in the game. Because I was a little worried that the Bonnie and Clyde thing was just going to be too flat on its own. It's a good story, but it's flat on its own, especially after the last one. They're doing a little better that way, but overall there is still some issues that will get addressed, but we don't have time for that because Doom's more important. GTA is cool, but Doom takes precedence. So, but we will get into that in a different stream after I take a couple more looks at what I saw because I don't want to judge too heavily until I break it down more. Plus, I want to see some other takes from the other reviewers because I like to balance and buffer my opinion of something off of other things too to see if I'm being too over judgmental or things like that before I make any real claim towards anything. It's too soon for me on that one, at least on my end. I haven't intaked it enough. I've been too stuck on watching old kitchen nightmare videos. I don't ask why. My brain goes in weird cycles sometimes where it just decides to attach to something and go, it's the ADHD, by the way. And goes, I want to watch some Ramsay rip this restaurant apart. And really shit upon its terrible, terrible management. Also, I've now found a VTuber who reacts to kitchen nightmares and follows that kind of stuff. So I'm like, there's a VTuber for everything on YouTube now, or Twitch, I guess you could say as well. Which More power to them. I have nothing wrong with it. Oh man, y'all know me. I would probably be one of the least people to have something wrong with it, just because, well, if Darius or Farseer ever told on my Steam activity, you'd know. Let's just say, I don't shy. I'm not a shy person. I used to be, but then I decided to grow purple demon wings. Much like someone else apparently who's become a VTuber as well. We're not gonna say who it is, but I realized who it was after hearing his voice a few times, and my brain went, "You've been corrupted, sir. They have got you." Oh man. Sometimes, and also speaking on that before we resume doom slaying, there is a part of me, being a disabled person, who did think about doing that. Since I am a 3D modeler and have done 3D models of my own in the past, I'm not great at it. I could do a simple one in the beginning. Has thought about it. I couldn't do it on console. Here's the other weird problem I run into. You can only technically do this on a PC. PlayStation doesn't have that. So I'd have to I'd have to go the pro route, which would be extremely expensive. True proper Delgado or what that you hook into your system and then attach it to your PC so you can do what James does with his PS2. That's for old games. Yeah, there'd be no way to do it without that. But I just with my setup now, it'd be impossible. It would only be for PC, and it'd be kind of silly. I do actual face cam for PlayStation, but then I have my other character or my persona, which in this case would be Jared. I know exactly who I'd make. I know exactly what he'd look like too, because I have originally a prototype of him, or had, I guess I should say, a long time ago when I was in college. I don't now, sadly. I'd have to remake. Like I said, when it comes to that, is I don't have the passion in that as much anymore, as versus I want to get into programming, I want to get into engineering again, I want to get back towards learning and figuring out how to. The first steps will be figuring out what I can access first to get into the industry, disability wise, and then open the doors from there. So, I'm really out there today, Chad. I'm energetic as hell today. Can you tell? What's the battle mode 2.0? That's multiplayer. That's competitive. It's okay. It's kind of like Quake, or let me actually put it this way. This is what's going to be funny. You know what that technically is? That's Unreal. That's Unreal Tournament is what that is. Not as good, by no means at all. Not even close. It's fun. I played it once. But overall, still no Unreal Tournament, or even Quake Arena, or whatever the multiplayer for Quake was. So, now who am I? Let's see. I missed a lot. Oh, now who am I kidding? Their collective rage alone would have destroyed the planet. Oh yeah, 100%, 100% Farseer. As far as I can never say his name right. Hold on, I gotta go back. We're gonna call him Malum, or Malum. No, Malum sounds stupid. Malum. Yeah, Malum. Yeah, the world would explode. The amount of power they would both produce is also actually kind of a real life thing. If something that powerful could actually exist, if these two actually hit each other, there's a chance it could actually realistically set off such an impact that it could create a concussive force equal to a darn nuclear bomb. And that's actually legit. It's because of because we're thinking about realism. Think about realistically how much force Doomslayer puts into that punch. Remember, at least from a fantasy perspective, he can punch something bigger than skyscrapers and make this thing really, really hurt and actually like reel back. Like, jeez, it's like if you could make something that much bigger than him being human sized, basically bigger than normal humans, but compared to that thing, human sized. Um, I guess Spartan sized is the best explanation, but actually his human body's that big. Um, versus a giant destroyer demon who is now cyberized by the makers, still can make this thing realize you're punching it in the face. It's like, holy crap. The amount of impact force that would have had. So those two fighting each other on the surface of a planet, Malum and Slayer, that's the end of that planet. This could be said about certain Marvel characters too. He if he fought them as well, technically in a real life scenario on our world, right? All right, let's load up. This is also why I didn't want to go too far in this, because this is one of the more funner levels, hard, which will be a good test of my new control. I'm probably going to die a couple of times. I did, however, as you can tell at the top, go and get some more lives just to be safe, just for a buffer, so we can have just kind of blow through this. We do have one codex I picked up we have to read that I stupidly did not realize half the story was in this level. I've got to bloody find it now. Has to do with the arena itself. That's the story of Earth. I don't think it's gonna be there. It's gonna be somewhere in here, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay. By the way, I'm pretty sure this Coliseum is the one from Quake Arena. Or at least a spiritual successor to it. Hey, see, Tim King, did you see the trailer for the Ghost Bear DLC for Clans? Oh, did they finally show that? I have not seen that either. I need to check that out. I need to rewatch fully, not half out of it and kind of asleep at night. Um, I need to rewatch the new GTA trailer, and I need to rewatch, and I need to watch what you just said because I haven't seen that at all. Thank you for letting me know that too, as well, Farseer. All right, so let's read this. So, the ancient arena is a holy place for the people of Argentina. Constructed in the earliest days of their history, this Colosseum served as a proving ground for trial by combat. Historical records indicate that the Argenta did not jail their own kind. Someone else with this kind of although in realistic terms, this is about to sound real close to a certain somebody, which you can tell they were kind of inspired probably by this culture to create what the Sentinels are. So uh, instead of jailing, Argenta do not jail their own kind. Rather, prisoners and criminals were granted the right to earn their chance at regaining honor through victory in the arena. Which, by the way, that is Quake Arena 3's storyline for Quake. He's dishonored by what happened in Quake 1 because I found out I was right. Quake 2 is not the same person. So that game is a little bit of a different removal as far as the Quake series versus the Doom universe. Them being kind of tied together. Quake 1 is 100% indubitably tied to this one. I'll go over when we get further into and closer to Dark Ages and when we're into DLC how I have figured this out and how and what I actually found out somewhere else that kind of confirms this. Even from the developers themselves somewhat. Uh, but two makes sense that that's probably not from the same universe because that wasn't even the same person from the first game of Quake, like Quake 1 to Quake 2. See, it was just some random Marine dude you're following. Now, however, I do think the events of Quake 2 are partially canon. And we'll talk about that too. But Quake Arena ties it, which I think was Quake 3. Or is it Quake 3 and Quake Arena? I can't remember. But Quake Arena ties it fully back around to Quake 1, which I am wholeheartedly now am guaranteeing after I finally read this again. When I first accidentally picked this up, realizing we couldn't do this without doing it on episode. This is definitely the Quake Arena's where that map took place or where that game took place, at least in spiritual successor version of it. I say that specifically because, in a way, these games are almost a remake of Quake and Doom put together now, almost like they've merged them, right? Like, I want to point out, like, it just because I say they're from the same universe, what I mean by this, it doesn't mean that necessarily Quake is a prequel right now to this version. What I'm saying is, to the original version of Doom, yes, like Doom 1 and Doom 2 and Doom and possibly even Doom 64. But as far as but Doom 64 was also somewhat just Doom 1, but because I've noticed something about Quake 64 as well that was kind of just Quake 1, but boiled down to be worse. Because after we tried that mod for Quake to show the N64 graphics, it was pretty terrible. So that might have been just a watered down version of the game, anyways. Uh, but as far as this version of Doom, so Doom 2016 and up is a reboot, but a high just by what the universe is like reeling of, it feels like they took both universes and went whap 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 and just hammered them together. Which, since they were already kind of intrinsically linked, even development process alone, because Doom helped make Quake, and then Quake helped remake Doom in a fashion, come back to life. So that being said, intrinsically these universes are linked just from a developer standpoint, just because these games help develop each other through the same engine. So good on the developers for kind of doing that. We'll get more into more of that, but it is very interesting to see this. So I saw the thumbnail but haven't watched it yet, so I was there. Or not, remember when Mech Warrior Clan said they will never add Inner Spear mechs to the game? Some of the new mechs being added are Jenner, IICs, and Hunchback Eye. So they said that, but then quickly, you know what that was? They probably did mean that, but here's the issue that falls upon when this is why you don't say stuff before you do your research. They probably didn't. I'm going to blame this on ignorance and not them being like how some developers tend to be vindictive towards their own lore or their own whatever. I'm going to blame that slightly on ignorance, that I wholeheartedly believe they just didn't know yet that the clans technically retrofitted Inner Spear mechs because they were technically better, but used their clan mech parts in order to make them a more savage version. So once again, that's what that number behind the Hunchback and the Jenner is. That IIC. It stands for, it's a number. It's a code to represent this is a clan mech, but it's an Inner Spear clan mech, meaning they took an Inner Spear mech and basically ripped its guts out and gave it better inner workings, because that's what they do have better of, but kept the savage, badass armor and just ingenuity and engineering of the exoskeleton and the armor and the body that the Inner Spear can do. Because the Inner Spear has better. That's why they can make atlases and like that. Is because their industry and their metallurgy is so much stronger than the clans. The clans don't have these resources. That's why their mechs inherently don't go above a heavy or whatever it was, because they don't have anything bigger. They never made anything bigger. They didn't know until they found out the hard way that there was anything bigger. See, and that's why I really appreciate Ghost Bear and some of the other factions, the Wolf one as well. I already forgot their name because it's been too long lately. They actually adapted. They were one of the first few clans, the two of them, to start pseudo retrofitting and capturing Inner Spear mechs and stop treating it like they were some unpure mech that was to be treated like some demon, when clearly it's killing your mechs. It's clearly better than your designs. You need to stop letting them beat you just because you want to be prideful. And that's what a few of the clans realized pretty quick after a couple of losses they incurred, and said, no, we have to change or we'll die. which that's the crux of evolution and humanity, to be fair. So this is why the smoke jaguar to me are such idiots. Anyways, see, all right, so the right to earn their chance at regaining their honor through victory in the arena. Those who succeeded were given a place to fight in the front lines of the Sentinel army, to die in the service of Argent-Denur. This traditional use of the arena has subsided since the assimilation with the dark. Well, yeah, note that word too. Since subsided since the assimilation with the dark realm. The corrupted priests now allow more violent exchanges, with armed captives pitted against demons for sport. The priests of the Order D continue to hold undisputed power on Argent Denur. Spilling the blood of Argent Ascended class will result in the transgressor's banishment. Asylum amongst the Argenta will be not denied to any who do not adhere to the rules of engagement. Which is what I think happened to Slayer, which ironically is technically the same thing that happened to Ranger. So, once again, harkening back. I gotta make sure I don't miss any secrets though, because look at the secrets on the right, chat. Since I have the thing to show it, it's all lore. I forgot this is the lore dumping level, and this is the one that matters the most besides the last level in the game. Okay, it's down below. I think most of the lore is actually going to be pretty straightforward, because I don't think the game's trying to hide too many secrets from me, because this is supposed to be an arena. There's nowhere else to go in here anyways. Also, look, chat! I can run full speed backwards now. Isn't that sad? By the way, all this time I haven't been able to, just in case you didn't know. I've been fighting with weighted clothing on. Today is the day we remove it.
We found him in the valley, just outside the castle walls.
Something tells me we're gonna see this in something tells me we're gonna see this in Dark Ages somewhere. At least I hope. Since this is
guts. Huge guts. Kill them. Must kill them all.
He has fight in him yet.
In spite of his injuries.
Send him to the arena. Let him be judged like the others.
His clans did not have assault mechs, but only a few clans designed them. Jaguars just steal their designs. Yeah, Jaguars are just thieves. I'm convinced that the Smoke Jaguars just should be ousted from all the clans because it just kept giving them bad names. It made the war even worse. Yes, the next part of the Sentinel history. This is also why we need to do this part, because it's going to have a lot of how we did on Earth, basically. How we went through Earth and got a ton of its history. This essentially has most of the Sentinel history, probably on this one level, besides maybe the Maker's level, perhaps. Alright, translation from the Book of Kings. This would be part 4. In the time of King Novik, you're going to notice this word keeps coming up and this name keeps coming up, chat. In the time of King Novik, as the Argenta secured peace and safety through dimensions across time and space, an outlander came to us. He was not of our world. This is speaking of me. He was not of our world and spoke an ugly tongue. How he first took step upon our land was unknown. Sentinel scouts found the outlander bloodied, clawed, and near death, mumbling of impending doom and the forces of darkness. The scent of blood followed him, and the gore that stained his armor seemed not entirely his own. By Argenta law, the stranger would be judged in the Colosseum, where he would be given the chance of all who stray from the path to fight for his freedom. We know not of this stranger, His mind seemed crippled with rage. He dressed in an entire in entire blah break brain. He dressed in attire not suited for our lands, and carried munitions of arcane origin. We watched as his will overcame his injuries, and in the blood arena he proved his worth. The Outlander's techniques were crude and brutal, but the determination in his charge echoed that of the true-born sentinel. His war cry echoed through the Colosseum, as did the sound of his fury, and the guards cheered his banner. Rip and tear! They shouted as the beast pushed beyond mortal wounds and certain death. He would be gifted no rank, no title. The survivors in the arena were provided only one reward: the right to earn an honorable death while spreading the blessings of the Makers to those in need. The Outlanders also chat. Once again, there's a huge bubble I'm going to bust real hard when we get to the DLC. And this just said it. I'm glad we read this. So, alright. So, let's see. By spreading the blessings of the Makers to those in needs. The Outlander's determination was witnessed, his ravings documented, and through the word of the Order Deeg, the con maker, had him brought before her. By the order of the had him brought before her. She set her minions to learning his tongue, for with his ugly words he spoke of lands unseen, creatures born of fire, in a dark place unknown to the queen and her caste. Yet another opportunity to expand the gift of the Makers to those in need. So that just confirmed something to me. See, this is why I'm also doing it, because once again, I get a better take on the story. This is why I always play Resident Evils 3 times, because I enjoy their stories and their gameplay. Because by the second or third time, this one only took me 4 times, because I played this game on my own too multiple times. But will be the third time fully delving into the story and reading it. That just told me something I thought I had not realized before, and maybe I had went, wait a minute, hold on, but how? But then I realized, but then that makes that, and not that. And we'll talk about what that is soon. Maybe not in this episode. I'm keeping notes just in case I forget. So, a fire and dark place unknown to the queen and her caste. So, can you guess where that's talking about, chat? I'll give you at least some hints to kind of figure out something interesting. By the way, did you see the Destiny 2 reveal? They're adding Star Wars skins. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I look at that, unless you're Fortnite or unless you're like Marvel Rivals or you're a free-to-play game that already does this, that's a sign of death. That's kind of that's like curling up into a death ball for a company, or at least for a game specifically in this case. Maybe not maybe not Bungie, but although not doing great right now. But the game itself, that's a death ball scenario. The fact that they're now ousting out to cheap little things like, let's make Darth Vader in the game. Yeah, that's a bad sign. Not that that game wasn't already basically dead, sadly. But, I mean, look what they did with Marathon. The fact that Marathon exists the way it is now speaks volumes of how dead Destiny probably is as well, anyways, or has been for a while. So, sad face noises is all I have to say. Looks cool, at least the skins. I won't. I'll give them credit where credit is due. The skins look really beautiful, but that ain't gonna make me all of a sudden play Destiny. Sorry. Ay ay ay. Oh man, I forgot. Con Maker, and then okay, so now we can keep going. We got our next one. There is going to be a lot of reading in this episode, which is specifically why I'm doing this one. Oh.
I offer you, O great powerful one, A sign of truce.
The irony is she knew she was being beaten. But there's a whole nother thing to that, too, that I'm now realizing, if I'm correct. Part 5, let's see. Let it continue. Aha! Ha 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 ha. So this one right here is the one I've been looking for the most. Note the picture. Note that it's using original models, except for I think actually no, that one kind of looks right. Original models from Doom 1 in this portrayment. Like the Hell Barons look more like the ones from Doom 1 rather than from this Doom version. And we're going to talk about why that might be as well once we get to Dark Ages and the end of the DLC. Dark Ages specifically, because of how vastly the models have changed in that game. There's two reasons for that. One, because it you don't want to keep reusing the same mixture too much, because then it gets bland from a development point of view alone. Number two, I actually think this also plays in to what the lore is actually telling you and why they look so different. And we'll get to that when we get closer to that point. But let's read part 5. But yes, this is the one that used the picture that I remember. This is the most important one of them all. So chat, we're going to read this very carefully and pay attention to this one very carefully if you're interested in the story, because this is going to be the doozy. If you listen to that last one and then you listen to this one, now putting 2 and 2 together, your brain's probably going to explode if you truly have picked up on it yet. But we'll get to that. I'm betting it'll be Snoop Dogg and Turtle Skins next. Probably. You must remind me of my earlier comment, Tam King. Why isn't Shredder in Mortal Kombat yet? Not the original. Not the original Bitch Me version. I'm talking about 2000. Yeah. I mean, well, like I said, if it was ever discussed, it's because it's too close to children. They probably are too iffy on that. If they put someone like Shredder into a Mortal Kombat, this might mean, oh, well, kids might try to start playing Mortal Kombat. Once again, that's on the parents. Parents should be smarter and just tell their kid no. I don't know why that's just not that easy. It it makes me. It's like even if a kid screams and moans, you let them get to that point. That means you're not asserting yourself enough. And we're not going to get into that subject again, but like I said, I'm more a little bit old fashioned in some way when it comes to parenting because I've seen parents literally let their child, who is of 8 years old, run their household essentially and run their life. That's not how that works. So, so it's like, nope, you don't just give in. That's why they're acting like that. So it's like, that's on the parents. But that being said, I do think that that would be the logical conclusion from development teams. I'd love to see Shredder though and Splinter in there and get more love. It's extremely just like Jam King just said, 100%. But until and I think we're going that direction. This is one small thing I want to say towards this. I do think as a society and as a species, we're starting to move back towards that direction. We're starting to move back towards the direction where we realize we need some self accountability. It's not happening. It's going nowhere, and it's happening across the board. Whether it be from small, just some random person not holding themselves accountable like they should, to entire regions and countries pretending certain things aren't happening and certain things that I've been watching and covering on my own, just and keeping track of because I'm very interested in where this might take us, both good and bad, sadly. But we're not going to get into that subject. But point being, it's self accountability. It doesn't matter what level of whatever it is. It started to stop being a thing. And we finally have realized, whoa, this is bad. It's going to kill us all. We're literally going to die from this. And the survival instinct is finally kicked in. And human society is like, nope. And much like if an alien species, unless they just had like were Independence Day level of technology to wipe us out, yeah, no, it's Uka Uka my rock. Anyway, his animality could be Bebop and Rocksteady. That'd be fun. Oh, I'd like that. And Splinter's animality could literally just be what rats do best when they're hungry enough. It's terrible. As they were in the case of 2012, it could be his mutant. Yeah, that's true. They could have done the mutant monster shredder. That'd be cool too. That could be his animality. He just mutates into mutant shredder and just just absolutely removes them from existence. This is the nicest way to put it. But yeah, back to this. Let's read this very carefully. So, translation from the Book of Kings, Part 5. On the eye of the black star, the dark ones came from a world beneath our own. Now remember, I'm going to quickly go out of this just to give reference for people who have forgotten. That's the black star. It was a shard that crashed into the planet. Keep this in mind. The cosmic sphere. That is the black star. On the eye of the black star, the dark ones came from a world beneath our own. Not through ship nor ephemeral vessel, but through the fabric of dimensions. Out of a swirling fiery gates came horned beasts from a timeless realm. First one, then many. Crashing waves of evil swelled from obsidian forest of the Argentian. Remember, this is on Argenta. This is the Sentinels' homeworld. The forest of Argentian overlands. The Alorum clans from the eastern mountains fell first to the black hordes of devils, and the city of Telerim was slung under the weight of their charge. We sentinels rose to meet the beasts with spear in hand, the might of the holy fleet striking back at the demons. But the dark gates from whence they came gave birth still to even greater hordes. A line of blood was drawn with the fallen of both sides, and the unholy wars began as the time of darkness came upon us. Okay. So, this is the referencing, and this is actually before Dark Ages. Dark Ages is actually way beyond what this is, still. It's not far removed compared to this game, timeline wise and chronologically in its own universe, even with dimensions being a part of it. Like, it's inside the Sentinel realm. Since we're sitting inside the arena from that same place right now, however many years later, this is before Dark Ages. However, this holy war, you can probably guess what this is probably referencing. This is the tie towards a certain game. This is the direct reference to something that happens in a certain Quake 1. And technically Quake Arena. But that, I think, is something slightly different, too. But once again, we're going to get to all that at some point. But yeah, okay. So, that's also, because here's the thing. It's not even Doom 1 yet. And the reason why how I know it's not Doom 1 chronologically is because the fight with the demons has already been happening with the Night Sentinels. And by the time Slayer is recovered, like you saw in that cutscene, by the Order Deeg, the Hell Priests, who will betray the Night Sentinels for the Hell Dimension and its denizens. This technically means even Doom 1 takes place far beyond Sentinel. But here's the kicker. I do think partially they happened at the same time. And the reason why I say this is the fact that they didn't discover the demon realm. You ready for this? Until Slayer showed up. I'm going to leave it at that for the moment and let that soak in. That cutscene also proves that. And also the message from her.
What you have left behind. Go back to it then. Leave this crusade. You cannot save them. They have asked me for this, and so I give it to them. If you let the priest live, then I will return to you what the demons took from you so long ago. You need only turn back, and it will be yours again. All the pain you carry will be gone.
And that's some heavy bribing because she knows she can't beat him. And that right there also in its own right. I kind of forgot she said that, and that was enlightening. Here we go, part 6. We're getting there. She's lying. She can't bring back Daisy. That's true. That is probably all he cares about is, I want my rabbit back. Oh, that's agreed, Farzir. Definitely agreed. Alright, here we go. Translation from the Book of Kings, Part 6. Unlike enemies of the past, we could not contain the demons emergent from the Dark Realm. Their weaponry was not conjured from machined steel, but from the essence of their very being. Now, remotely remember this too. In Quake, all of the creatures you are shooting at, their weapons are part of their body. Their weaponry was not conjured from machined steel, but from the essence of their very being, a dark magic not known to us in our many conquests. Had we grown overconfident, our victories, had we grown overconfident, our victories serving to dull our blade, as we drank in the glory of our expanding empire. Lost? We knew not of how to prevail against this foe. The Maker God stood perplexed, and our engineers and priests scrambled to find the advantage in battle we so desperately needed. Unknown to the enemy, we were pushed to the brink of defeat, and our God stood with us as we worked to find an answer. And here's the funny thing about that, too. I actually do believe now, finally coming back full circle to see the thing that I actually didn't pay attention to, I do think the makers were, in the beginning, note those words, helping the Sentinels. In the beginning. I do think we're going to see what happens in Dark Ages maybe triggers something else to happen. Now, the Hell Priests themselves, I don't think they were working for either of them. I don't think they were working for the Sentinels, or as their allies, or even the Makers. They were enforcing Maker well, but that was out of convenience. Because note this, too. I actually don't think she knew about the betrayal until it happened. And when she saw how resounding the defeat was, I think she switched sides. She realized the demons were stronger, and that their species would propel her species far, far further into the realm of possibilities. Not truly understanding what these things were and where they actually came from. which that big bubble we're going to come to at some point as well. This is going to be a hell of a thing. I cannot wait to go to just ruin y'all's brain. Y'all thought I could do it with Resident Evil. Turns out, I guess it's not just RE. To be fair, this is also big shout outs to the developer itself because this is good writing. This is what good writing looks like. All right, let's go to the next part. Oh, look at this convenient BS, too. Look at this. Read this next sentence. The Order of the Deeg were the first to unlock the mystery of these foul creatures. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because they've been working for them and serving them this whole time, and they already knew the slight anatomy in this, and their bosses told them it was okay to reveal this secret because they knew it wouldn't be enough. And hell, maybe it was on purpose to entice the makers into realizing what these things could do. We'll get to that too. The Order of Deeg were the first to unlock the mystery of these foul creatures. The priests were able to capture several of the beasts. Well, that seems unlikely. And set about, unless you can just command them. Oh, wait. Let's see. The priests were able to capture several of the beasts and set about to identify the source of their power. Even though they already know this. It was then that the essence of the Dark Realm was magically discovered. I'm going to add that word there. Not wholly unlike our own. Gee, I wonder why. Sorry, I'm gonna be real smart aleck with these next few parts because these are the parts I was dumb. I don't know how maybe I was tired when I did the arena that night and did not put two and two together. First time I read this, especially after reading part 1 through 3. Part 1 through 3 is integral to understand first, obviously because it's the first 3 parts. That's common sense, but I mean like understand what it's hiding from you. The mystery, you have to use other parts to really see what it's talking about. And then 4 through the probably up to what I think it's either 6 or 8. I think there's might be 8 of them. That tells you the rest. So okay. The essence of the Dark Realm was discovered, not wholly unlike our own. This power was the life essence that flowed through their twisted form and powered their attacks. It could be harnessed. It could be harnessed to power our own weapons, giving the Argenta the chance to combat the demons on even footing. The priests believed that with greater knowledge of the essence, we could discover its source and cut it off from the demons to strangle their armies from within, allowing us to regain the advantage we required for victory on the battlefield. The con maker gave blessings to our majesty and directed the priests to delve deeper into the mysteries of the scarlet elixir, as it's first called. Remember, it's made from blood. Essence means blood, by the way. Just to give that, cold little like actual biological references because people weren't sure what that stands for. So that's why it's called the scarlet elixir. Now note something, chat. It's scarlet. That's red, right? Tell me. Something I want everyone to tell me right now, and then this is going to be, I want to give the elephant in the room more attention. What color do the demons bleed? I want everyone to say it out loud. It's the art that turn off YouTube notifications. Oh, on May 9th. If you don't want spoilers for, I I don't pay attention to my notifications. It won't spoil anything. It's fine. We'll be well ready before then. I've already pre-ordered it too. I know that that's the pre-order ones. As long as I don't watch any of it, shouldn't spoil it. I know you can get it like several days early. I hate that so much. I really do. Because I couldn't afford to do that. It's just not within my budget. That's another thing within my situation as a YouTuber versus most normal people. Because I can't just easily have side money. I can't buy into some of the more earlier access kind of benefits, which puts me at a disadvantage as a YouTuber as well, realistically, business wise. That's why I'm kind of not really focused on YouTube anymore. I just don't think I can do it within my realm of what I can do, just because it's, I'm not going to say rigged, that's not the right word. It's too settled into what it's become for someone in my situation to be able to have his freelance ability and be able to grow the same pace as I would have if I had started in 2012. If I had done that, then it'd be a different story. But this isn't 2012, so. But yeah, I get that. Yeah, I did. But I trust me, it'll be all right. I won't spoil anything for me too hard. But back to what I was saying. All right, chat. What color does the demon bleed when it gets blown away by our super shotgun? Now note that demons bleed pasta sauce. Exactly. Interesting is that. So I'm gonna give a bit of this is gonna be my one little Roanoke kind of shout out because I'm nowhere near his level of intelligence of genetics and how blood and all that and works. But I know one common thing. Human blood, when exposed to oxygen, when you get cut, turns pasta sauce color. Hmm, this seems very curious. And what? What do you mean by this, sir? I'm not sure what you're hinting at. Well, I don't know what to tell you other than, uh-oh. And we're gonna get to that. It's like, so, alright. Back to what I was saying. Let's see, Scarlet Elixir from the demonic realm. No, she said demonic realm. If this is truly, and this is what I'm trying to hint at, hell does not have oxygen. It'd be pure sulfur. An oxygen-based life form could not exist in hell. Do you get what I'm getting at yet, chat? So, interesting. So let's keep on. Let's see, from the demonic realm. For she sought only to return balance to our universe. Proper assimilation was required, as hell stood beyond her influence. Gee, I wonder what could happen if a machine assimilates something like this. I wonder what it would do to it. Let's see. Continuing on. After great effort, the priests discovered more than they had ever hoped for. They learned of the true nature of the demonic energy and how it could how it could strengthen those skilled enough to harness its power. Interesting. So what you're saying is the human body can withstand this magically for some reason, as if, who knows, maybe it just naturally vibes. Huh. Let's see. The energy coursing through the malformed bodies of our relentless enemy could be used to end life or to enhance it. The power to heal. And I bet you they did know that at some point, long time ago, before they went all ape bull mode and angry as crap and became something different. But the power to heal, to mend immortality, knowledge and enlightened faculties beyond our understanding. Also, that's BS. You're machines. The makers are part organic and part machine. That's just writer error, not realizing that's a sci-fi thing. They probably should have worded it a little different. How would the makers not know what immortality is? They're they're cybernetic. Like cybernetic is the easiest thing to be immortal with. Come on now. That's my only qualm with that, by the way. Is that the makers are enticed by this by immortality? No. Now, however, one could argue one thing we'll talk about in a minute that makes more sense to a machine rather than immortality. We'll talk about that in a minute. Why I think they're more interested now from the human perspective, or the Sentinels, or the priests. That's definitely from a biological meat suit perspective. I get that saying from Roanoke. Um, shout out, like I said, shout out to him. You definitely need to check out his channel if you want to know lots of cool things about genetics that I'm learning. Um, yeah, they would be heavily enticed by that. Like the humanoid type creature, absolutely. So, is there. Who says hell doesn't have oxygen? And who says there's only demons in hell? Heck, who says Doom Guy explored all of it? That's true, but here's the thing: he didn't, but he doesn't need to. We're gonna come to the structures of hell, of the hell realm, very soon, and we're gonna talk about something very specific. But we have to get to that point. We haven't gotten enough of the codexes in this area yet. Now, you are correct. In a sci-fi realm, you could just pretend hell has oxygen. But they didn't state this. And no offense to most lore, I actually don't think that with how smart this story is written, I don't think that's just a misstep. Like, I don't think it's, oh, they just didn't say hell had oxygen. In some cases, I'd say this with certain writers, but it's almost like Resident Evil. People underestimate how good the Resident Evil writers actually are, like heavily, like absolutely heavily. They make some weird missteps here and there, but they're minor ones to the point it doesn't matter. So, in that kind of credit is credit where credit is due, because writing is not an easy thing to mask, and it's not an easy thing to be mysterious with writing without being too vague to the point it sounds dumb. Like it sounds like a 50s or 90s action movie that does no cohesion. It's like without doing that, having that issue crop up too much, it's hard to do this. So, that being said, with the intelligence level in these writings, I doubt that that's the case. Specifically state um that it's specifically like a hell. Technically, only one faction calls them truly hell, and that's actually UAC and slash Earth. Earth calls them that. The Sentinels don't call them this, and neither do the Makers. Hell, even the word demon, you could argue and portray that this is written in a human's. My whole thing about this, by the way, I'm pretty sure these codexes are written in human language. I do not think a Sentinel wrote these. Pretty sure this is written by someone who's in Doom's future, maybe even Doom himself. That's a big if, though, a big reach. I don't know about that, but at least some sort of chronicle that maybe followed him, almost like a bard, and kind of basically found out about the history of the Sentinels, did his research, did the digging, and wrote all this up as someone to find this later. Um, this is just from real life perspective how that would work, but uh, but I do think from the video game perspective, the writers of this game are so good at writing this. I don't see them making too many missteps there. The only missteps they make are something, or at least so I thought until I read something else. So I'll go. We'll go back to that in a minute, but let's finish reading. So let's see. Skilled hand. Immortality, knowledge, and enlightened faculties beyond our understanding. With the demon's life force in the skilled hands of the sentinel priests, and under the righteous gaze, note that word, of the con maker, our people would not only rise to victory over the unholy horde that clawed at our walls, we would move to a higher plateau of existence. Now, let me pause there. That's what I think the makers want. It's not immortality because they can live forever as machines, anyways. I actually think it's something bigger than that. Because it's a machine, what is the most biggest thing that holds any type of machine back? It's its power source. It's its ability to grow bigger than itself because it can't get enough power to excel beyond its limit. Right? It can be immortal, but it has a limit. There's still only a certain amount of machines or creatures you're going to be able to connect to one machine in general space, even on a galactic level. It may be a lot, but to it still could be not enough depending on what it's facing, especially when it becomes interdimensional, right? So think about it from their perspective. It's not about the immortality, it's about an infinite power source that they can use by harvesting, and I want to know this word, other life forms. And we'll get to that in a minute. Since the original life form is the one actually in charge, which we'll talk about that too. And the righteous gave of the calm maker, clotted our walls. Yeah, you see, ushering in a new era of military science and industrial healing. No sentinel would grow sick. No maker would need to suffer transfiguration. That means transfer of body because the power cell went out. So that right there, that's what I mean. No maker would need to suffer the transfiguration that they so feared. All would be risen. None could ever oppose our peaceful ways and threaten our world again. True balance over hell and its legions. Now, once again, if this is written by a human, that makes more sense. He would use that word. But as we said in the beginning, when we were reading the Sentinel history in the beginning, which clearly is a chronological from Sentinel Prime itself, written by Sentinel hands, they weren't using the word hell. They were using Agadian or Agadon and Agadian. That's what they called the demons. So let's see, united with the makers, we find peace eternal. So, yep, they're dissecting and learning all they can about it. Alright, so there's gonna be a jump up sequence somewhere. Oh, it's over here. Oh no. Oh, don't do this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No. There we go. Sometimes you can get it to stop if you mess with the map. It has a weird, this game has a weird bug where it can lock in an audio bug that happens, which is slightly annoying. Wait. Where is that? Hold on. Is that this? Ah. Alright, there's the auto map. Oh.
I pity the humans. I do. Theirs is a hard role to play. But I too have a world to save. Without their souls, there can be no hell energy, and the Argent will cease to flow. I cannot allow this to happen. You will not stand in the way of Erdak's progress. This is how it has always been done. It is not for you to deny us our chance at prosperity.
She's partially not wrong, and what I mean by this is not the fact that he don't have the right to stop it. It's the fact that what she means by saving a world as well. Her world will most definitely be destroyed if she fails. It will be harvested. Now you note I said that. Her world will be harvested if she fails. So wait a minute, isn't she the one doing the harvesting? Nope. Here we go, next part. Oh, wait, what's the picture? Yep, so it's the picture of the fight continuing on. Look at their armor and as well. Most of these, I'm pretty sure, are references to the Quake series, or at least Quake 1. Since Quake 1 is actually a really big-ass game for even how old it is, it's got the main base game, but then it's got like 6 little expansions. that are all the same size as the base game. So for that, how many levels? It's like 8 levels per thing, but each level is pretty reasonable for it being a boomer shooter style game. Which we will try to go back and at least check out at some point a little bit more in depth. But I'm pretty sure, seeing that their Sentinel armor used to look like knights, and you fight corrupted knights in that game as well, as if they had given into to the power of the demon realm and converted over. So, translation from the Book of Kings, parts. Let's see, that was part 5, part 6, part 8. As we warred with the beasts, the Argenta Society grew under the watchful eye of the makers and through the endless power of the essence. While our generals were consumed with the unholy war, our culture was marked by the beautiful potion the enemy had provided us, the sweet elixir. It brought us immeasurable capacity and empowered us to reach farther into dimensions once thought to be beyond our grasps. Under the direction of our maker gods and the engineering of our high priests, our weapons blazed and our war machines stormed. The throngs of the populace drank deeply from the well of energy, unveiled by the priests. But we of the Night Sentinels took no part in their abundance. Some among us whispered accusations and warnings against this manner of progress, but they were quelled, as it was not our role to dictate the future of our people, only to defend it. Yeah, but the Guardians also had to realize there's a limit to of things you allow, or just sit on the sidelines and just let it happen, even as just a defender. That is a hard lesson to learn. But let's see. Let's see. Arna, who would you say is the best caretaker precursor species? I'm actually not sure. It's definitely not this one. It's not the one, not the makers, because they could have helped the Sentinels so much more, but they just gave up on it because they realized the Sentinels were going to lose probably, and we're like, nope, we're not sacrificing our invincible, or what do you call it, our infinite energy machine for you humans or human-like creatures. Very rarely would a machine do this anyway. So. Okay, we're doing good so far. We only got 3 more codex, and then the battle begins. It's all going to be one massive battle, as you can tell by the demonic corruption. If I remember correctly, isn't this like a rematch with the Cyber Demon? I don't remember. Or the Tyrant? The first Tyrant? I could have sworn that was in Doom 2016, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's another Doom Slayer. I actually don't remember what this battle is. It's been so long. Wholeheartedly, I do not remember. History of the Sentinels, Part 9. Up and there, look, okay. So now it's beginning. You see that right there? So now we're getting into the beginning of a certain story of someone, which is who we are, but. Alright. Translation from the Book of Kings, Part 9. As the Black Star ascended to its zenith, King Novik sat restless on his throne as the howling darkness began to assemble just beyond the mountain rise to the east. The blight came upon us in droves, flooding forth from the Hellgate with merciless fury. They brought they brought with them a monstrous titan, the Dreadnought, which that's the thing we're going to get the punch with our mech. A beast to rival the statue, the stature and the menace of even the mightiest ancestral. The grotesque giant laid waste to all before him, crushing all in his path. This was a total demonic assault, striking at the heart of Argentinur as never before. It. How wait no? How was it that the behemoth could pass through the demonic gate without warning? We would never know. Well, you would later, once the hell priests screw you over fully. But I can tell you who brought it through. The guys you're buddy with. The priests were never on either of your sides. This was all a ploy to consume you both. Once again, we're gonna come back to that too. Through the demonic gate without warning. We would never know, though the night sentinels believed treason was at play. Caught off guard, the sentinels scrambled late in defiance of the Titan and his horde. And with his coming of the holy city of Tar, and with his coming, the holy city of Taras Nabad prepared for judgment. With the onslaught of the demons massed in sprawling shadow of the adherent fiend, the city shook to its foundation. This is also how I know this is before Dark Ages and the Slayer, because they don't have robots clearly yet to punch these things in the face. But it also shows you how long they've been fighting them too. That the Sentinels held out because since they have no giant sentinel mech to beat this thing down right now, this thing is basically unstoppable at the moment. Kind of like when you first meet the destroyer for the first time, which the destroyer is probably, in my opinion, the original version of this. So that could have been the destroyer for all we know. Strict the city's foundation, none were spared, save those that fled north. Sprawling shut up the city shook to its foundation. None were spared, save those that fled north. The vile swarm ransacked our temples and palaces, burning our towers and feasting on the souls of our clergy. Yet the night sentinels rallied and held fast against the demons. Though they were pushed back and corralled at the blood arena, as the dark of the night descended, their swords remained potent and potent and shred the enemy multitude in multitudes. That should be in multitudes with abandon. Amidst the unyielding ranks of the sentinel, when all other apprentices had fallen in battle, stood the outlander. Now here's where the interesting thing. You see that switch right there? I actually had to take a second gander at this. Here's the funny thing about the way this is written. Okay. So, remember in Dark Ages there's a mech that is able to be used, and they assault the Hellverse. Yet in this sentence, this is stating in almost continuity to its own story, which I'll give a reason for that in a minute, that he was there before the mechs ever existed. Okay, alright then. So, rip and tear, he roared. Ferocious in battle, the remaining conscripts of the arena stood in awe as they witnessed the beast who had once raged within their cells, now armored alongside their shoulders of his sentinel brethren. He had risen where none other had before, a true-born sentinel fighter, the very best among them. But though the swarm fell before their assault, the Titan remained invincible, for none could tame the behemoth alone. In the hours before dawn, as the night sentinels weathered the relentless assault, the outlander held his ground at the foot of the great wall in the northern bend of the castle. Seeing his unending vigor, Samur, chancellor to the mother god, hurried the outlander away under the veil of secrecy, and for reasons unknown, submitted him to a rite untold. Now, Samur, does that sound almost like Samuel Hayden? That's because it kind of is. So hurried the Outlander away under the veil of secrecy, and for reasons unknown, submitted him to a rite untold. This was heresy. For Samur received no consent from the con maker. I actually, by the way, think this is why he's locked up. I think this is why the Doomslayer is deployed from the maker in that little crazy trailer. Unleash the Slayer or activate the Slayer. That's for a reason. She locked his ass up because Samur hit him with a dose of Argent energy without her consent, turning him into a demigod. He was already savage, and if my theory is correct, already technically becoming something. We're going to get to that. I'm sorry it's taking so long. It's a lot of lore, but I have to cover this properly. I did not do this justice last time, and I am ashamed. All right, so let's finish this. For Samur, we're going to say Samur, received no consent from the con maker, nor did he receive her counsel. In the chapel of purity, the Outlander submitted himself to the divinity machine, known to us only as the aid to the Mother God, blessed the Outlander with fierce speed and power to match his will. It was by this method by which this transfusion took place that was most uncertain to us. For we were of the knowledge that the Maker's device bestowed onto the Argenta so many generations ago was to be used by the priests only to find the purity among us. How could it be that this device was meant to cull the sentinel breed of the contaminants that could be used to purify the Outlander's body and give rise to one who would lead us into battle henceforth? What rose from the holy coffin on that fateful day was not the impure abomination the covenant warned us of. The hero within would come to be known only as the Great Slayer, the Time Walker, the Warrior Khan, whose fire sword would blaze forth a path for the just and cut through the demonic horde with a vengeance that only a God King could summon. He rose unbroken by the ritual, his eyes burning with the Maker's magic. He took the crucible in his hand, and ray fire leapt forth from the blades as only it will when held by a true sentinel warrior king. In our darkest hour, the Slayer had been chosen, defying tradition, our most sacred laws, and the will of the Khan herself. A stranger to our lands, had been blessed with celestial might. Now, that sounds really spectacular and fireworky, right? I'm going to point something out that's going to be real hilarious. If Samur had done this to any other Sentinel, it had killed them. And I'm going to tell you why. At least without mutation of the body. Now, okay. Let's look for the final one. Make sure that's the last one before I crack open this can of worms and spill it everywhere. For our first leap into what the DLC is going to truly expose. So, yeah, I'm lost in this question. See, yeah, all of them have all of them have way too many flaws. It's because actually, I'll give you one. Out of happenstance of them having too many flaws, because you asked me caretaker precursor species. Here's the weird thing. Even though I wouldn't call it precursor, although one could argue it became a precursor species, I'm going to say Wally. Now you're probably like, wait a minute, but he's not a Picard, is he? He was created by ancient humans. And his whole sole purpose was caretaking for humans and being their protector. Or in his case, a garbage bot. But still. So I'm going to actually say, even though it's not officially probably recognized as one, Wally's people, Eva, all the robots that cared for the ridiculously lazy humans that became of them in that franchise. But I want to get to something, but I want to make sure there's not one more I need to read. Oh.
Stand by and watch as you put our future at risk. Earth will be consumed, and the energy will continue to flow. It is your people's survival against mine.
She's not wrong. Sadly, that's how wars start anyway, sadly. Speaking of that. Degrav. All right, we finally get the Degrav. So I think that was the final lore for the Sentinels, I assume. So that being said, I don't want to lose my train of thought. Okay. So, question, chat. Why do you think I say, if you've been kind of following what's been maybe happening, why do you think, before we go to the DLC, which will probably be next episode's main episode, is my plan for next episode is get to the con maker, beat her, beat the destroyer, and then jump straight into the DLC. So we can resume where we left off. Yeah, hopefully. But so all right. I don't want to let's open this can of worms. So first off, I'm going to hit everyone with this one first. You ready for this, chat? Doom 3 is a prequel. Now, technically, Doom 1 is a prequel as well to a certain extent, but then I realized something that slightly didn't make full sense. Now, I have to use both as an example because they're both kind of the same game, I think, realistically. So I have to use both. So Doom 3 is a prequel. Remember what you just saw in the priest's cutscene when they're dragging Doomslayer before them and they show him his helmet. That is the Doom 1 helmet. Now, Doom 3, once again, is the same game. And the reason why I have to use Doom 3 is Doom 1 doesn't explain it as well as Doom 3, ironically. And I was like, there's no darn way this is actually canon until I got proven otherwise. So, okay, here comes this massive BS. So, remember this is dimensional. Remember, dimensions do not adhere to linear time, right? And Doomslayer is from a different dimension than the Sentinels themselves and the Conmaker. He comes from a version of dimension of Earth. I appreciate watching the YouTuber I watch now, Roanoke, a lot more because he learning more about certain things. He's opened up my mind, even in story writing, like how story writing can be done better, and you can use real life things better to adhere to fake things, like to make fantasy even better. You don't have to completely adhere to it; just use it as your basis, and that's what this game has done. So, as I anticipated originally when I made this theory, one thing is still core correct. All three of these species are not demons or angels or blah, 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 blah. They're all just different species of sentient creatures who've existed on different dimensions. That's literally brass tacks. Let's break it down to that first. They're literally no different than three Stellaris factions punching each other in the throat back and forth. It's no different. That is exactly brass tacks what this is. However, The demons are not what they seem. This took me forever to uncover. Like, absolutely forever, and many times playing Doom 3 and coming to terms that this game actually counts. Now, once again, Doom 1 also counts. They're the same game. But Doom 1 is just an original arcadey like boomer shooter. What little story that it did kind of tell you about what actually happened, you'd have to look it up in its original pamphlet, which is pretty much a rundown, simplified version of what Doom 3 is. So, insert Home Alone face slap scene. And it's like, I would say Forerunners was using a prototype Halo ring on species for planning to usurp you is a bit too much. A beating in tech regression would have made more appropriate. That's true. Which this is the only thing that kind of doesn't make slight sense in this universe when it comes to Doom. I will say that before we continue, is the makers themselves are a little bit of an oddity in my opinion. Just because I think that's the one part of the story they had to sacrifice making sense to make the rest make sense. Because in most cases, anything cybernetic would never even touch anything biological. They wouldn't even associate with it. They'd just destroy it in most cases, especially if they aren't protectors or what's it called type cybernetics. If they're not out here trying to sanctuary people and save biological species in general, and I do mean actually save them, not sacrifice them for energy sources, um, they'd have no use for us. And arguably with the demons hashtag being as strong as they were still doesn't really equate to, yeah, but it's machines. If these things forgot how to use technology, which they did, they most definitely did. Their technology became what I call bioorganic technology, meaning it's almost like Prototype. If you've ever seen the game Prototype, that is a very good example of that. You can make weapons out of your arm, but it's still using your blood and genes and all kinds of terrible things and the heat in your body to produce certain effects. I wholeheartedly believe, much like how Godzilla is explained, how he would fire his beam in real life, I think there's a similar aspect going on with the demons. That they're using body essence, their scarlet elixir, to produce these effects in their body genetically in order to fire the weapons in their hands, along or fire fireballs that the imps throw at you. Um, is that kind of thing. You see, Prototype. Now that's a game I'd like. Yes, 100% Tam King. Someone out there, please remake Prototype 1. I don't really care about the sequel too much. The first one was a work of art. I loved that game. Not only did it have an intriguing parasite level story where the parasite makes sense, it's not totally a parasite, but that's why I'm using it as a reference because it's also partially kind of what I'm about to say. By the way, now that you know what Prototype is, you kind of already understand Doom. You ready for this? So, let's take a hypothetical here with the game Prototypes universe, since Tim King knows what this is too. Let's say Zeus, aka Alex Mercer, won. Let's say his and what he became had won on Earth completely. What would follow here in turn would be a genetic mutation of all of humankind. So, chat, what did the demons bleed again? So let's wrangle it in a bit. So I'm surprised Sony hasn't done any Infamous remasters. That's true. That is a little weird too. Even Infamous, especially 1 and 2. Yeah, that's a bit weird. I agree with that statement too. Infamous was also amazing. I love that game too. See, I miss days and good writing because I'm a big stickler about story. I love lore. I love the mystery of it. I love when they do a good job of making a story, but it's not just blatantly in front of your face. because there's two different things that can make a story kind of boring. It's either so convoluted that it's that it counters itself and destroys its own argument, or it's so bland and watered down that it's basically Serious Sam kind of situation. The action is good, but the story is terrible. So we're Duke Nukem. It's a great game gameplay wise, but God, is the story dumb. It's it's a fun slapstick kind of story of just pure stupidity and just over the topness, but as flashbacks to a lot of games people probably forgot. um, but okay, so back to what I was saying. Okay, let's go back to the Slayer. All right. So if Doom 1 is a prequel, at least to the terms of what you saw the priests do when they were carrying Slayer up for the first time and he's got his Doom 1 helmet that they're holding in their hand, and then they put him through the arena and all that. Okay. So, hypothetically, let's say Slayer was yanked. Remember what Conmaker keeps saying to us right now. Remember what she keeps saying. She says, I know what they took away from you. Well, she doesn't realize not exactly you don't, because you don't quite understand fully that it's not about taking it away, which is why she could never return it, because returning it would mean the death of her species entirely. That's why that's a lie, what she told us. Because if she actually knew what it actually she needed to fix, she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't, because that would kill her people. Because then she wouldn't have infinite Argent energy anymore. Funny how that is. So back to the Slayer. If Samur, aka we're gonna call him Samuel, the one who's helped us from 2016 and Internal, and probably we'll see him in Dark Ages because he'll be the one who will bless us with our power. Probably at the very beginning of that game before we're locked up in a cage because he gave us God powers without permission. So that's also why I think the whole reason why he has to be deployed by the Maker. She does not trust him now. She knows he can destroy her now. She knows this. So, um, but here's the thing: if they had done that to any other Sentinel, those Sentinels would have died. And the reason for this is something in real life. So let's treat Argent energy like radiation for a second. We're actually going to pretend it is because it actually might be radiation. Like Argent energy itself might be a pure form induced by a mutation of radiation, much like how the explanation of Godzilla's breath is performed in real life, and what I learned about that and how that might work with spinal fluids and how the body damages itself to heat itself up to create the molecules and then mix it with the fluids of his spinal cord and spits it out his mouth. That's actually spinal fluid that he's using to create the beam. That also makes sense why it's a solid beam, because it's adhering to something that is got somewhat of a liquidy solid state. Otherwise, much like most lasers, you wouldn't see it. And it's like so, and then it's like, and then in the same aspect of this explanation, I'm almost positive that that Doomslayer. And remember what he was acting like, right? When they caught him, he was saying, "Guts, large guts, killed them all," as if he was reverting to an animal-like state. Now, note, what do the demons behave like? And there's actually a very much logical reason to this. If Argent energy was an overinflux of radiation on the human world, created by some sort of opening to some other realm, because I do think there is a trick to this too, to the point of which we haven't got this far to show this white rabbit that I'm going to talk about. Basically, the 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 trinity of the story. You got to follow the white rabbit, Neo. um, Not literally Trinity, by the way, or a lady or anything specifically. Just in general, the white rabbit all. So Doom 3 explains a little better. This is why we're going back to Doom 3 now again. In Doom 3, even though it's a horror game, technically instead of a boomer shooter mostly, more like Resident Evil. Now, 2016, I actually think is a sequel to this too, somewhat. Because Slayer is already powered up even in 2016 when he comes back to Mars. Note that word I said. But I don't think this is his Mars. I actually think he came back in an earlier timeline. I think he's using the fortress to try to alter time. My theory is what he's doing is he's trying to find a timeline that's before his people and what happened in the outpost at the original version of the UAC in Doom 3 and Doom 1 before the gate was fully opened and they discovered this new type of energy that poisoned everyone on that station. And who was on that station? The Slayer. So when they pulled him through the portal, and I actually think that's how he got there, it's when he walked through the portal from the last portal he ever went through at the end of that game. I think that took him to the Sentinel world. And then when he got recovered, out of all the madness, and remember, he was exposed. So this means he's mutating as well, meaning he's turning into a demon genetically, or at least what a demon is considered in this game. A beast is more apt term because the Argent energy, aka radiation, is mutating his cells. He already had the Argent energy in his body. So when Samir use the divine machine, and this is actually kind of makes sense too. The divinity machine is a machine created by another machine to look for the cells and genetics inside the Argent energy and correct them and make them buff you without any adverse effects. So what essentially Simmer did is he saved the Slayer's life. The Slayer would have continued to de-evolve in a way, at least physically, and he would have eventually became a demon. I also think he can't live without that suit fully either, much like not Mr. Freeze, but in a different fashion. Not the whole armor. I think it's almost like Tony Stark's like reactor. I do think there's that little piece you see in his chest that you see get shocked by the con maker in the trailer is connected to his body. I think it's almost like an arc reactor, and without it, I think he would begin to regress again. I think he'd actually start turning into a demon again. So, let's see. I follow the kid's philosophy, keep it simple, stupid. Exactly. People will open a portal to hell instead of mastering nuclear, shaking my head. Well, I mean, that's that reality. But realistically, this is a scary thought. Radiation can cause the same types of mutations in the right kind of atmosphere and the right kind of situation. Do note that. That's why I think it's actually just nuclear radiation. It's a fantasy version of what nuclear radiation can do to the body with the right setup and the right things going on. Once again, this is only if you had the right stuff. This is also why I think wholeheartedly, if Samura did this to any other Sentinel, he'd have just turned them to ash. He'd have just killed them. Whereas he had almost like having a virus already in your body, he gave him a pure, even though I don't totally support this, he almost basically vaccinated him. He basically gave him a direct dose of a dead version or purified version of the virus to basically fight off the virus. So, okay. Also very real. So, I do believe that that is the case. Now, there's an even crazier part of the story I will not touch until we play the DLC. And it has to do with King Novik. But we'll get to that. That's not Slayer, by the way. Slayer's a separate person than King Novik. But King Novik might be something else. So we'll get to that. So, let's see. All right, let's read this about Degrov. The Degrov remains the most powerful of the Hell Priests. Well, the one's alive. I do think the thing you're fighting, the guy with the red suit and the horns inside Dark Ages, pretty sure that's a Hell Priest. Pretty sure that's a Hell Priest. Hell Priest. Can't talk. Degrov remains the most powerful of the Hell Priests among the people of Argentinur, frequently visiting his ancient homeworld to lord over the populace. Also, if the demon virus is spread to other species and the radiation is exposed to them and the mutation is created, it creates different versions of the same demon. Hence, remember what I said? Why the demons look different on the Sentinel world than they do on the human world? That's because they are. That's because those demons are created through sentinel genomes, meaning the mutation is mutating things from Sentinel Prime, Argentinur. So they're going to look different. Let's see. People are frequently visiting his ancient homeworld. Let's see. Ancient homeworld to lord over the populace. Arrogant and pompous, Grav calls. Huh? Oh. Grav calls for blood sport in the arena to entertain the fallen citizens the fallen citizens of Sentinel Prime. Since the demonic invasion of Earth began, he has operated on the planet's surface along with his fellow Hell Priests to direct Hell's forces. But after the deaths of Deeg Nilix, Nilix, Nilox, and Deeg Ranok, he has fled to the safety of the arena. It was D. Grave who facilitated the torment and eventual betrayal of the Sentinel commander Valen, taking taking the keys of the sepulchre of elements and opening the vault of the sleeping wraiths. The ancient creatures were abducted, transported to hell, and tortured to siphon away their power. Note that too, by the way. He used the heart of the Valen sun. He used the heart of Valen's sun to animate the icon of sin, a titan still spoken of in legend throughout Argentinur. So, the elemental wraiths. We're going to get to them. So, alright. That's it for that one. We're almost done with these, though. I think we've only got one more codex. We do. Got everything else? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, because they use them for sport. Oh, hold on. I screwed up my map. There we go. Some of them are empty. Can I? No. Also, to note something else, even though it's evolved from it, if you look at the way its chest is and stuff, you can, much like it with most genetics, you can kind of tell what this probably came from. It's got other species in it, but humanity also has a bag of genetic markers from all kinds of stuff, technically to a certain extent. So if that gene is exacerbated, it will come to the surface. It's mostly just cybers and pinkies and what's it called. Yeah, fast travel unlocked. It's one big arena. This shouldn't take us too long, luckily. Gladiator. Oh yeah, no, okay. Oh, I remember now. This guy. Oh yeah. Well, at least this is a good battle. I remember this battle actually being kind of hard. Also, doesn't he have the mace that I'm gonna have in the next game? All right. Just master it and make it fusion, and you have none of the side effects That's true, but humans are crazy, so it's almost not even necessarily about the mastering. It's about going too far, right? It's about, oh, we mastered it. Now what else can we do with it? It's knowing when to stop is what leads to things like the Doom universe, or at least from the demon perspective alone, and what it represents, and also what Prototype represents as a whole. Especially when it comes from us. It's different if it comes from space. We had no control over that. But if it was us, oof. Hello. Uh, Let's see. Okay. In the years following the end of the Golden Age, competing factions of Argent and Ur turned against one another. An insidious influence had beset itself upon the Sentinel people, corrupting its once held sacred traditions. So that's showing you right there the mutation's already happening. Because the moment the gates were opened to Sentinel Prime, if this is acts like any type of infection or parasite or mutation, that shit would have infected anything it came in contact with. So the more the Sentinels brawl with it, the more they're guaranteed they're probably infected. Let's see, factions of Argentina turned against one another. An insidious influence had beset itself upon Sentinel people, corrupting its once held sacred traditions. The Colosseum, once a place of honorable combat, where prisoners of Argenta were tested for their right to fight in the front lines of their army, has since become a palace of blood sport in violation of Sentinel law. The priests have engaged a demon there, a merciless executioner, used to enact judgment of their own decree, the gladiator, wielding an accursed shield which entombs the tormented soul of his undying master, remains undefeated in battle, infamous for the many lives it has claimed. See, there's even a chance this is even him. And what I mean by that is a certain king, not a certain somebody else. Because if the process of turning a demon is accelerated, which will, I think we saw it in 2016 more in the UAC facilities, that they put people inside these chambers. Originally, we thought that maybe they were harvesting them. In some cases, they are. It depends on where you are in the chambers. Some people are just put to basically being sheep. Others are put in chambers where they're now fed, literally through their veins, are not only argent energy, basically radiation, but also the blood of the ones that they're harvesting and forming it together to force a reaction in the body. Essentially, this is very loose terms because I'm not as intelligent as in that aspect to fully break down how it's doing this. But in layman's terms, it's basically putting someone in a microwave, but without the adverse effects of exploding. It's like so. It's like so. I'm pretty sure this guy is at one of the champions. If it's not the king himself, this guy is probably one of the champions of all of Argentina besides the Slayer himself. That's why part of me wonders if this is King Novik. But all right, we're ready to die. Hold on. I did not bring any BFG. That's sad face. Hopefully there'll be one down there. This is a really good mirror of the main situation. Oh, there's the arena. Rip and tear. Also, look at his vision. Remember, this is after Doom 1, but before he was ingested with an argent energy.
To the front lines, Drake.
Why is his vision like this?
They are everywhere. Must kill them all.
Dress his wounds and bring him to us. I want to know more about the others he speaks of.
See,
Yes,
he's the one
Your
that told
Grace.
them about the others, the ones who infected him.
If Sentinel Holy Blood is spilled on these grounds, you will lose all sovereignty here.
That's not how this works, sir. You have no idea what you actually are dealing with. This is actually kind of hilarious. Yeah, he does have our mace. It's gonna be a minute. It's been a while. When the shield's eyes flash green, which that's gonna be a primary color, by the way, you can tell that this mechanic was born. Also, want to show this off. The mechanic we're gonna be using in Dark Ages was actually born in this game. It's just there's so much QTE in between all of it that you don't really see it much. Because the green light flash is also something the Marauders do. When they're about to hit you and that's your chance to fight back, this is going to be a big thing that they've changed and exacerbated as their main mechanic, which I really love when we play Dark Ages. But that shows you where it was born. When the shield's eyes flash green, the gladiator is about to attack. Shoot him when his eyes are green to stagger him and create an opening. Oh, okay. Forgot. Oh. I hit him. That was cool. Oh, nope, I missed. I am hitting him. I don't quite know why. Oh, okay. Time to get some health. Ow. Oh, okay. That's why I don't like QTEs. Ah, that might have just, yep. This is why I cannot wait till they're gone. It just takes you out of the fight way too much. Way too much. It should just give me help for properly killing minions. And staying within the boundaries of what I'm trying to do. How is that hitting me? Ah, I have to hit him and shoot him. Oh, okay. I wonder if I just have to shoot as soon as I see green. Hold on. It still hits me, but I got it in face that time. Oh, I'm out of grenade. Okay. Ow. Ow, that was really hurt. Uh-oh. Like, this is why I can't wait for the new one, because being able to counter that would be so much better. Because then I could actually open him up. Yeah, that's not doing anything to shoot him with that. Ow, 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 I need help. Oh, you bastard. I'm running out of zombies. Oh, okay. Be glad when we get past this part. It's a bit slow. Damn it. See, we're too close. I see. I see we're too close. Okay. He does like a jab most of the time. You need to get him to do the overhead. Like that. I waited. I did that way too soon. Ow. Time for a blood punch. Oh, I tried to pick that up. No. Oh shit, I don't have anything. Ow. Okay, I actually blocked that with a dash. Come here, bud! I need that shield! Come here! That was smart, he overloaded it. Showing that the shield is actually a thing! Wow! Could you imagine being turned into a shield? Oh yeah. Now comes the real fight. Without a shield, the gladiator is more aggressive in his wider variety of attacks. When the gladiator spins one of his flails, it returns attacks back to the player. When the gladiator eyes flash green, he is about to strike. Ah, I see. Oh. Oh, I forgot how to. Oh. Oh, God damn it. I heal. Oh, I forget. Oh, God. Okay, I remember how you're supposed to avoid that. Damn it. Some things I don't remember. It's all about speed. How am I supposed to avoid this? Ah, okay. Okay, well, he killed that at least. But he killed my other ability to get health. There we go. I gotta... How are you supposed to predict that? Ow. Oh, God. Yeah, he's killing me. I don't really know what you're supposed to do against that. I don't remember what the meta to dodge that is. Oh, we have... I kinda... Ow! Got it at the last second. Again! It's so hard to predict it. Good thing I got extra kill. I need freaking ammo. I'm getting out of sync here. Alright, I see! No! What was I supposed to do right there? Now you die! Ooka, my friend. The real fight and my favorite part of the song, yeah.
Nothing.
It is a really good fight.
Will be consumed, regardless of what.
Yeah, but see, they think that he's the enemy, but it's like... That's because they still believe in the sacrifice.
The portal is ready. We should leave immediately.
Yeah, glory kills on heavy demons will now instantly charge. Will now instantly charge your blood punch. Thank God. About time. Thumbs down. I saw what we were supposed to do for his ability at the very end. What you're supposed to do is strafe left and right while you're shooting. So that way, depending on whether the low end of the wavelength is at you or the high, you can either stand under it and it'll go above you, or you need to jump. It's been a while since I fought that battle. I kind of forgot he did that. But nice. Everything obtained. There were no challenges on that one, I noticed, so. I hit the wrong button. God dang it. And then just continue. We can just hit continue. Hit the wrong button.
The Khan Maker has overloaded your systems. Vega has no control over...
If you had let the culling continue, the human race you fight to protect would have survived. Now I will resurrect the Icon of Sin. He will devour Earth and leave your whole world in ruins. Life on your planet shall never return. And this will be yet another world you brought to extinction. This stronghold will now serve as your prison. With no power, you can do no more harm to our mission, and we may continue the work that must be done.
Welcome to the house. Welcome to my house. I throw banging parties. The only thing they fear is you. That's what song's playing is right now. Oh, hi. Oh, wait. Hold on. Is anything different in here than normal? I mean, other than you're powered off. Yeah!
She
There we
didn't
go.
know you had the demonic crucible. In the end, the very power source you sought to eradicate from Earth is now what will help you save it.
Well,
The mission on Sentinel
if my
Prime was a
theory's
success.
correct, it was
The
also
demonic
born
consumption
there.
of Earth has been stopped.
Only a Slayer's Crucible blade can stop a Titan. You must get to the Sentinel city of Taras Nabad to retrieve your Crucible before it is too late. Without it, the Titan cannot be stopped.
Setting the portal to Taras Nabad.
Welcome to Slayer mode. Fortress Slayer mode activated. Now, did that change anything odd? See, now there's a secret up there. So this means I can get up there, but wah. Ah ha ha ha. Ah! Oh my god, it was that simple. I did not remember any of that. Oh, I say that. Ow. There we go. Praetor, fully upgraded suit. Yep. That's the cheat I wanted, just in case we needed it. That's for the DLC. That's for if we need that, we might use that cheat just so we can get through it quicker. How many cells am I holding on to? 5 again. So there's a Praetor point here we gotta still unlock. Cardmaker 100% should have had him in her world guarded by makers. They definitely should have. 100%. Although, then again, a maker is the reason why we're alive. Think about that. Samuel's a maker, the one who's helping us right now. That's why he gave us the crucible. He knew I'd need it one day. He knew. He was like, I'm prepared. I've got it ready to go for you, big guy. Oops, wrong button. So we got 2 more. We can go unlock one of the one. We're going to be 1 short. But we've basically unlocked every door. But we're going to go get one of the ones downstairs so we can have almost all of our Praetor points. The last 2 Sentinel batteries, I'm pretty sure, are on the next level. This is why we're going to just do this over this weekend. Or over this week, rather. Is because we're basically at the end. There's this next level. Then there's the Destroyer. And then there's Conmaker herself. And then we're back to the DLC. So other than that one, we've gotten everything. Other than the one across the way, which we only need technically 1 battery. So maybe there's only 1 battery in the next one. It's just the challenges, whatever they might be. Also, our poor robot. Can't wait to see how that happened. Clearly our machine gets screwed. Which you do get to see yourself get tossed in the trailer against a wall in this thing. So we'll get to see what caused this terrible disaster to our machine. That would have been nice to have on Earth. When Dark Ages happens. We've gotten most of the music too, it looks like. Also, I don't have any more keys, do I? So the next 3 levels, so the next 2 levels, Conmaker and Destroyer's level must have a gate in it. I don't have another one, right? Oh no, there is one more. This is, so this next level is the last level with a challenge gate in it. A Slayer gate. Then we'll have the Unmaker unlocked as well. Alright. What time is it? 6:52. I think we might have to wrap it up here. Let me do some upgrades and then save and quit. Alright. Oh wait, we have an ARC broadcast. Hold on.
This is the Resistance Network, broadcasting live from inside the Arctic safe zone. There was a Slayer sighting on Phobos. Eyewitness reports say that he was spotted inside a command center and then proceeded to fight his way through the mortally challenged and onto the deck of
It's
the
Sword
BFG
Conmaker.
10K.
Oh, really?
This can't be confirmed.
Oh, right, because
but
she
many
destroys
believe it
her
was
own
the Slayer
city.
himself
The
who
Destroyer,
destroyed
which, by the way, I
Mars
think that's
in an
on
attempt
purpose,
to stop
too.
the challenged from further advancing their position on
You're
Earth.
right. Because she's going to
We'll
realize
post
that
more
something is
information
not quite
as it
on her
comes in.
side right now,
This
actually.
is an ARC broadcast.
This is going to be just as much a realization for her as it was for, technically, me, when I realized who the true enemy really is. She, like I said, Uka, this my rock ain't going to let her have any of the steroid juice anymore because she failed. If you haven't gotten the joke yet, the demons are humans. Or come from a version of humans that were corrupted by this energy long ago and have ever since consumed other worlds to power themselves. So yeah. Icon of Sin is gonna go world star, yeah. Which is for a reason, because the Icon of Sin doesn't work for her. It don't. It works for the original leader of all of this. The one we will not see until DLC. Until the DLC. So, because that's the original progenitor. Now, that's the one thing I don't want to touch on too much yet, because I need to see what we missed in that game, or in that DLC, before making the assumptions about who that is. Because there's a 50-50 chance that it could be King Novik instead of the champion we just fought. Part of me really thinks this, but also the reason why I still believe it's Quake is because I believe Quake is King Novik, the original king of the Sentinels, who fought the demons when they first showed up, before they ever got to a certain point, or fought a version of the demons known as the Agadonians. You see, I'm caught up on the DLC story, so I'm keeping my mouth. Yeah, I know you are. So that's why we're doing it, so we can get back to it and finish it, and I actually get to see it. Because I spoiled one small thing for myself, but I didn't spoil a lot. But let's make upgrades. We've got a lot of weapon points and a lot of Praetor suit points. We got 23. Okay, so what is the last two environment ones? Barrels regenerate after a short amount of time. I mean, that's actually just generally pretty cool. That's not necessarily helpful. That's decent. Okay. What about... No, right. We wanted to upgrade our frag. Hold on. Take less time to cool down after firing? Yes. Faster frag. The grenade emits a second, larger, non-damaging explosion. Oh, okay. Yes. Each demon killed by the grenade explosion spawns a scatter bomb. Is that like the one I had? It is. How many points I got? Yeah, that's plenty. We're getting that too. We're probably going to fully upgrade the frag grenade. And then fire twice before requiring to recharge. Yes. Yes. All right, how much points I got left realistically? 8? All right, I really don't care too much about the ice bomb. I don't really... I mean, these are all cool. Although they'll drop health if I do that. Let's get this at least. Let's make it where the ice bomb heals me if I do decide to use it. Because then I can just freeze a bunch of cannon fathers and easily take them out one shot at a time, getting some free health, without having to do the QTE event thingy that I always rely on as much. I'm kind of veering away from that on purpose, since it's going away for Dark Ages. We'll still have to use it a lot for the DLC, but still. Damage dealt against a frozen demon is increased now. Okay, so I'm going to get the last environment stuff for the barrels. So the barrels are more helpful to us in the environment. Environmental pinatas. So it should give us just enough Praetor suit points plus the one on the ship. If we collect all the secrets within the next 2 levels, we should be fully upgraded again. We sadly can't do it tonight as much as I want to keep going, because I'm starting to get into the flow of things. I haven't really eaten except for this morning, so I'm going to have to eat again. I got up really early because we had to go somewhere really early, so I'm running off breakfast fumes, as they would say. All right. The Praetor suit stuff is done. Our frag grenade is a monster to use now. Ice grenades give us health for killing stuff. The environmental's fully upgraded. Essentials and all of that. Good, good, good. Now, be over here. Alrighty then. That one's done. How many do I have? 30? But this only needs 3, so might as well get it. Faster transform. So its mastery is killing a demon with full auto mod will drop shell ammo. Kill 15 pinkies with full auto mod. That's not too bad. There's a level I could easily get that done on. Did with pretty simply. Okay. I don't know if I'll really focus that. Maybe if we do that in the DLC. But... So you're fully upgraded. But I never fully upgraded the micro. This time I opted out of micro. I opted out of micro this playthrough as much. Kills with the heavy cannon will boost micro missile damage by 30 seconds. By 30% for 5 seconds. That's not bad, to be fair. That's pretty good. Do I want the rest of that, though? I didn't finish off Heat Blast, to be fair, which was bad. Heat Blast charge per shot is increased by 25%. Kill at least 2 demons with a single Heat Blast 30 times. We're gonna be fighting the Destroyer soon. I have to keep this in mind. And Con Maker. We need to save some points for the Unmaker as well. Because Con Maker is very annoying, I actually think this is our best bet. Let's spend the rest of the points here. Let's get this rocket launcher's heat-seeking ability prepared to be unlocked. Kill 15 Prowler demons with the lock-on burst. That's quite a lot. I mean, I think this level's going to have quite a few Prowler demons, so I could technically do it on the level we're going to. And then a second lock-on target can now be acquired, although that's not really... Because we're going to be just using it to shoot the Con Maker with. We're not really going to be using it on anything else other than the Unmaker itself. I don't see a point in upgrading that. I just don't use it enough. Yeah, and the BFG doesn't have any special upgrades. Sadly. Alright. You. Kill 5 enemies during a single turn, deploy 10 times. Without overheating it. Okay. Alright. That should be good. Barrels of fun. Purchase all barrel related Brazor suit perks. That was the achievement. The BFG is perfect. Why make it even more destructive? Because I want it to end everything. I want to press the button and the entire universe collapses in on itself. Oh man. Alright, let's save and quit it here. Because I'm going to have to use this area to go back and grind a couple more continues out. We're going to get quite a few before you see the next episode tomorrow. Because I'm going to grind out a couple of them just to make sure we have at least above 20 or more. So it plays into we don't have to go back after this. We're just going to blitzkrieg through the rest of it starting tomorrow. So your latest progress will be saved. All right. Because it is getting a little late. Yeah, it's 7. And I'm trying to chill for tonight, too. I could technically eat and start back up, but I think there's no point to that. It'll be too late for some people to be able to join. So, we're going to pick this up tomorrow. We're going to end it here with this can of worms cracked straight open all over everything. And it's like, so my biggest pull away right now until we get to the next portion of this crazy train. I almost think, ironically enough, this would essentially make Doomslayer Patient Zero. So this means, in a way, what Conmaker just told us, even though she was talking about the icon of sin, I don't think she actually realized how true she kind of actually might have been. Which, once again, if it's any indication of what the DLC is about, then it makes sense of how it ended. And why it ended it the way it did. So that means Doomslayer himself is actually a danger to any realm he lives in because of his infection. Because like most infections, it wouldn't necessarily affect the body immediately, especially if it's running through the genes. It actually probably affects the brain first. And that's what I think it is it degrades the brain over time, maybe even the brain stem's ability to differentiate between certain emotions. And that's why I think the uncontrollable rage and violence comes from as well. So Stellaris changed a lot with the new update. Uh-oh. Have the mods updated yet? Are you able to do Gundam stuff yet? By the way, Gears Remasters was as good as announced. Yes! Marcus! Yes! Oh my god, we get to go down that road? Well, that's a whole nother genetic pool of silliness that we're gonna have to talk about when we finally come to that game. Oh, that one's a little more open about what the enemies truly are, especially by the second game. But yes, God, we are gonna do that. Just like Halo, that will happen. That will happen on the channel. I haven't got to play that Gears of War yet. I haven't got to play Gears of War with my custom controls yet. Dear Lord. You have no idea how much has changed. Well, I knew they were about to make some major game changes to the point of Stellaris is about to be Stellaris 2, but without creating a new game, unlike everybody else who does this. Stellaris is making moves when it comes to their game. So I'm assuming we're getting close to that point. Because they did mention they are in their roadmap recently, they intend to eventually completely overhaul combat. And they talked about it's going to be a mixture between eventually, and that's one of the major things they're going to change anyways. It's going to be a mixture between basically Homeworld and what else did they say? Something else mixed with what already Stellaris is. So the ships will have proper models. It won't be just a blob of death. Ships will have purposes more than just what normally is happening now. Once again, within the blob of death, as you call it, tacticalness and basically, all in all, it'll play more like an actual tactical fleet rather than just put it all in one formation of this many this many that, this many this many that, and just send it forward. That's really all the strategy to it is right now. But they want to play in more to basically what Homeworld did, basically what Sins of a Solar Empire does, even. Sins of a Solar Empire is a good example as well of what I think they're kind of gravitating towards. So, you see, one of the game directors said in an interview, it's coming to all platforms and we have crossplay. So that means there's going to be multiplayer. They're going to bring the multiplayer back for it too. Oh no. I actually get to make my dream come true. I actually get to go back on Gears of War multiplayer and make people sad again. But this time with my full power, because that was with me fighting with a literal handicap. But now I have custom controls and adaptability and accessibility. Good luck to those people. All right. So we not only get to relive the amazingness that is that campaign. I love that game too. We also get to troll people on online, and I get to revive my old self as the most terrifying. Somehow, I'm actually not sure how I managed to teach my brain and my feet to be fast enough to keep up with regular people in that multiplayer, even before the custom controls. But now it's going to be even more nightmare fuel for them, because the one thing I could never do was aim and shoot around over a ledge without having to stop moving. Meaning, because I had to press my analog stick against my tray, I would have to press it up, hold R2, aim and shoot, and then dip back down and cover. And if they tried to run at me, then that's when I'd run out and use my chainsaw to try to fight them. The way the game worked, it made it a little bit more accessible naturally, just because it wasn't about just complete run and gun. Cover was very important, and a lot of people made a lot of mistakes sometimes when they were using cover, jumping from cover to cover. So hell yeah. Oh man. Let's see. I did a playthrough and was not prepared. And was not prepared to the thousands of unemployed pops I had and fucked everything up. So, the planet management drop that they said talked about is dropped. Okay, so they did planets first. Oh boy. So it's begun. That means you're about to see the evolution of Stellaris. Stellaris is about to evolve into a new entity. And I'm very excited about this prospect of what they all talked about is going to change. Wow. And Stellaris is already a good game. This is icing on the cake at this point. It's what a developer does. This is what, when a developer is smart, this is what they do. They take the golden opportunity that's literally sitting in front of them on a silver platter and actually run with it and do stuff with it. Unlike others. Except for, unlike Bungie and a couple others. With a certain game. But, ships can now get specified roles. Nice. Noise. I'm not interested in Stellaris unless they drop a native PS5 version. Well, that's the thing. I actually think that might be what this is, or will be when it drops. And here's the question too. I wonder if they're gonna make it, and here's my assumption, and Tam King might be on to something. I don't think they're gonna update the PS4 one at all anymore either. I don't think we're going to see any more DLCs drop for it. And the reason why I think this is, if they revamp it and upgrade it, it will be a PS5 game by standards when they're done. So realistically and arguably, even though this does suck, they could re-release Stellaris as a brand new game on PS5. And it will literally be a brand new game at this point when they change this, when they change all this stuff. I mean, the planet change alone sounds like that's almost enough to already warrant it slightly already massively different. It's just combat hasn't followed yet, but it will. So arguably, you could say that that might be their plan. Is to be fair, Tam King, the plan might be that after it's been fully updated and they've basically turned it into a whole new game, I could see them re-releasing it on console as a brand new PS5 version. The PS4 one though might vanish into the wayside, is what I'm worried about, because I don't know if the PS4 version could handle these updates, the things that they're fixing to change. I really don't think it could. The PS5 could itself, but the app itself might not have enough like space and data to house these new changes because it was built for a lesser system. So the app would have to be completely changed, and Tam King's right. It would have to be fully updated to a PS5 one anyways, just to add in some of these changes that are going to be occurring, because the PS4 one's not geared for this. So organic ships can age and get stronger. Oh, that's cool. Wow. See, that alone already is so many new mechanics. So, yeah, I foresee that that's their plan. As much as that irks me a bit, because it means that some people like me and Tam King who do have it on console have to basically rebuy it, which is a little shit. But hopefully they'll make a deal and do like a lot of companies did, and you'll get a free upgrade to the PS5 version if you already own the PS4 version. That's what I'm hoping they'll do, since I already purchased it. That they'll look at that as, that's a little too much to ask, although companies are companies, and they'll let us have a free upgrade. Because the DLCs don't have to be messed with. They would be intrinsically the same to both versions. So that they don't have to fuck with. Excuse my language. So, hopefully though, to be fair though, since I have majority of my DLCs on my PC version of Stellaris now, I don't really, at least unless Tam King ends up getting it when they do re-release it, and a lot of my friends get it on console, I probably will just stick with the PC version, because the PC version is just going to get updated, because it doesn't have but one version. So, it's kind of sad though. Also, you can have focuses for your empire, like discovery, colonization, and conquest. I think that was already somewhat a thing. They might have made it better, but you could kind of somewhat do this already. That doesn't mean they didn't make it more in depth, because that's what they tend to do. So, but there was a pseudo version of this kind of already. But that is good to hear, though, that they're focusing even more. Like I said, all of the roadmap that I saw was extremely promising, at least from PC perspective. It does suck, that double-edged sword. This is going to be an utter joke, what I'm about to say. Microsoft, if this is your plan that we mentioned before, hurry up and do it, so that way none of us have to worry about being on different systems anymore. You get what I was hinting at right there, chat. It's like, Jesus, if you're going to pull this Band-Aid off, pull it off. They did make it more in depth. Stellaris is what people call an evergreen game. Yeah, it just never stops growing. ATS is the same way. I do think ATS needs an engine overhaul, though. But to be an evergreen game, you do eventually have to update something. And I think even Stellaris knows that. That's why I think all these changes are coming. They know they can't be an evergreen game if they don't update the game from not just DLC, but mechanically as well at some point. Because if you're not going to make another game, then you need to make your current game evolve. So ATS has the same strangeness. Although ATS is a little bit worse in this fashion because they haven't updated in years. They add more DLC and more trucks and more map. But I guess one could argue you don't really have to upgrade ATS because its graphics are at this perfect point where it's pretty enough for a simulator, detailed enough, but not so highfalutin that no one can hardly run it except for a high rig gamer. If you get my drift there, which is what I think they make their money off of. I think they do that on purpose. That's why they rather add more map to the US of A and more trucks to drive than rather update the actual engine. Because if they do this, there's a high probability chance they'll alienate certain people who already own the game, whose computers were never going to be that big or that beefy. At least not until commonality kicks in with PC, which is probably a few years off now. And even a normal PC is a Titan, and for cheap price and easy to use for most people. So actually, probably for all people by then. That's really the only way that would truly become a thing, at least fully. So, and that's something that could definitely happen. That part still baffles me that ATS has not made it over here. PS4, sure, but not PS5. We're on PS5 Pro now, with, dare I say, even though I don't think it'll be anytime soon, PS6, if that even still happens, if they go, depending on the route the gaming industry takes. We're already reaching towards PlayStation 6, hypothetically, right? So it's like, where is ATS on console? That does seem a bit of a weird misstep. It's not like it couldn't have run, or it can't run on the PS5, even the regular one. PS4 would have been able to run it, but it would have ran out of memory. Its issue would have been just the map is permanently rendered, unless they change that for the console version. The map is permanently rendered, so that would kill your frames on a PS4. But on PS5, it could run that thing like a nuclear reactor could run a tractor. Let's put it that way. Like if you put a nuclear reactor in a tractor, that'd be the same equivalent of a PS5 regular running ATS. Pro is a quantum computer running ATS. It's like, Pro's on a whole nother level. Like putting Pro on it, running ATS is like, okay, well now you're running it with something made from dark matter. Something unworldly, Cthulhu level BS is overpowering this ATS game. Because that console is well more than enough. So, it's they are working on it. They tried PS4, but couldn't. Well, that's because it wouldn't have enough memory. The memory would top out. I can tell you from this even with my computer, even though it's low graphics. Because the map is permanently rendered and everything is always in the background, your VRAM on your card is unhealthy at best. Now, is it still doable even on a low-end PC? Yes. But with the way consoles streamline their GPUs, especially in PS4, not PS5, because PS5s when they became a dedicated GPU, when it became PS5, that's why PS4 couldn't do that. I understand why they never brought it to PS4. It just wouldn't run it. But it seems a little silly that we're almost to PS6 and yet still no hide or hair of it on the PS5, or who literally can run it. So it's like kind of strange. But yeah, definitely PS4 would have died. It'd have had a heart attack. I'm pretty sure one did when they tried to test it. So Stellaris has gone through 4 versions at this point. We're at Stellaris 4 right now. That's true. That's actually a good point. Farseer is right, and I actually kind of forgot about that. Stellaris has changed 4 times. This new one included. This new one that's coming out and these new changes and next update to the engine. This will be the 4th time. There was the major change to the planets, was the 3rd time. The 2nd time was the major change to the engine where as far as, what was it? it was diplomacy or something. It was something to do with the diplomatic screens and being able to use them for more than just trading shit. It's like that was the second update. And the first update was the original change to the species customizer when they first really started allowing traits to be interchangeable in certain ways. From what I remember, it's been a long time. And now the fourth one's going to be a complete overhaul once again to planet management, but also combat this time, where combat will be more entertaining, more engaging to the player, worth more of the type of roles that your ships play in combat and things like that. So, but yeah. It's definitely the fourth version, basically. But, alright, chat. I'm going to end it here for tonight. This has been an amazing little short, well, I say short episode. How long did we go? Of a little bit of a Doom episode. Most of that is, I'm going to warn everyone now. I should have said this in the beginning. Warning, this is a lore episode. If you want to skip forward, you might want to. Oops. Forgot to say that. Sometimes I do forget that when we're going to do a lore-heavy episode, because not everybody's into the lore or into the backstory of something. They just prefer the gameplay and watching demons explode. And fair is fair. That is a fun thing to do. So yeah, I forgot to put the warning and disclaimer at the beginning of this. Hopefully people noticed it and just skipped forward when you watch this non-live. I can't help it for anyone who watched this live. That's just the way the Shadow is. We love lore here, and when we have a game that's got good lore in it and good story, I really do love to delve into the background and find all the meaty bits that they don't expect you to see. It's always fun. Let's see, I give them credit. I give them credit. Most devs would make a sequel instead of updating the first one with new graphics / combat, etc. That is true, but I also totally get where you're coming from, Tam King. On the other half that you're also talking about, I do think it's a little shitty that they kind of shit the bed with console. I'm literally going to say that. As much as I love Stellaris and do support it, at least as overall, it definitely shit the bed on console. Hardcore. Like hardcore. It should have waited. It should have waited till PS5, and I guess hindsight 2020. Maybe they didn't know PS5 was coming yet, and that soon by the time Stellaris, because it's not that old on console. It's only like, what, a year or two old, maybe 3? It was barely released before the PS5 basically became a thing. So one could argue, well, hold on, Paradox, why? Actually, no, it was released after the PS5, huh? Hold on. Do I have my timeline right? Either way, they shit the bed. Doesn't really matter, because it's like you could have waited slightly longer time, made a PS5 version of this game, and it would infinitely grow just like the PC would. They threw it into too many kick stops, as you could say, or too many barriers over it and too many roadblocks, which is kind of weird. It's like y'all could have made so much money off the console side, way more than they did, but they kind of hamstringed it. So, oh well, I guess. Hopefully they'll learn from their mistake, and if they do decide to release a PS5 version based on whatever the new one becomes, it's just Stellaris, but like I said, like it'll be an updated version, but it'll be a PS5 version that's standalone, probably. Hopefully they'll offer free upgrades to everyone who owns it, but doubtful, sadly. But hopefully they'll do all that. But yeah, that's definitely a big weird misstep on Paradox's half. So 2019, so it was on PS4. Okay. So it did start with PS4. But that's still like, think of what happened just a year or two later. It's like, y'all could have waited. Especially with, technically, wasn't that also right before a certain outbreak of a certain thing? It's like, so, no, it's a double-edged sword with that. It really is. But hopefully they'll make up for it and treat the PlayStation side a little bit better if they do continue on with it. I really do hope they do. For the people who can't get it on PC, I do want them to still do a console version, but a better one. And it's no offense to Paradox, stop trying to stagger. And this is my issue as well. They gave that PS4 version to a different company. Paradox may be the parent company of Stellaris and runs the one on PC, but I found out, much like World of Warships does this too, Legends is run by a different team when it comes to World of Warships. Now, it doesn't mean that the parent company doesn't know what they're doing, they're just as much to blame, but it's essentially just a parent to a child development team situation inside the same company, making the same game but different. So, and the fact that it was Clausewitz, I think they handed that off to for that. So that was also, in my opinion, the biggest issue there, and was a huge misstep too. Is like, why would you have a company that has nothing to do with your PC version make your console one? Well, the answer is they didn't want to take away attention from the PC one that they were truly working on, and just basically gave Clausewitz a roadmap that was basically 5 years old. It was essentially the original roadmap for when Stellaris was born, like when it was first born. So it was a bit of a stupid decision. Because if you're going to release a game that late in its life on another platform because you chose to be exclusive in the beginning, unlike everyone else who's now not going exclusive anymore, the issue that develops is that you now cannot fully produce anymore on that version versus your main version. It, once again, it's the same excuse even in World of Warships, just for different reasons. I don't think they did it for the same reasons that Wargaming.net does for World of Warships, which is pure greed. Because the one on PC is 1,000 times better than the one on console. Legends is terrible. Regular World of Warships is actually really decent and fun, and won't make you feel like you're dying inside while playing. So one could say the same thing kind of happened here, but for a very different reason. So I don't know. But hopefully they'll redeem that fact and redo it. Or, excuse me, that's not the right word. Re-release it when the time comes, but hopefully a free upgrade for those who bought in and did support. Because I did buy the PS4 version, so did Cam King. We supported them in that aspect. Even though we were reluctant, knowing they were not going to give us all the DLCs right out the gate. It seems kind of foolish. And ironically, this argument, and I want to point back, this is going to be a harken back to the old days of the channel. Some of you probably weren't around during this time, but this is a harken back to an argument I had with a person named Techno, an old friend. I don't know, we were more acquaintances than friends. We never really got to know each other, and there was some things about him that, we all have each other that sometimes we don't vibe with a certain person. That's all it is. There's nothing wrong with that. But I had a small miniature argument with him years ago when Stellaris first came out, and he was mad that I was shitting on Paradox for the fact that they didn't release all the DLCs that were already out on the PC. Well, fast forward to today, look how terrible Stellaris did on console, and it was for that very damn reason. And that's why you don't do that. As an actual person who understands business, unlike apparently him, this is a suicidal situation. You don't half-ass a secondary platform. I mean, look how much work Microsoft's putting into their cross-platforms they're now putting out. They're not going to let those fall to the wayside and be a half-ass joke just because it's not on Xbox, because they won't make money. The point of it is to make money and to draw in a different platform. And it's like, so it turns out I was right the whole time. Is the moral of the story. And so Paradox has multiple teams working on Stellaris PC. Yeah, but that makes that even more dumb. Because that means they literally took a game that they already have tons of teams working on who could easily degrade one of those teams that are still Paradox to deal with the console version. Yet they outsourced it to a completely different company. They still own the rights and it's still Stellaris, but for the PS4 version alone, that's basically Clausewitz. Completely. Like Stellaris was only they just gave them info and where to go next in the what do you call it? In the roadmap. One could argue it was almost a filler game, right? One almost could say they would have been better off making it a side game of a different story that was more linear and let Clausewitz have that, and that would have probably been more successful. It's like, why would you give them the same game you're working on just for them to work on an older version of the same game to release it on a different platform? What? You're not going to make money. And they didn't. So it's really strange. At least not enough that it should. Not as much as it could have made. It probably made some, but this just makes me sad to hear that. But it's the same principle though. When you have a golden goose, when you have the goose that lays the golden egg literally sitting in front of your face, please be smart and actually use it like you should and not shoot yourself in the own foot and basically accidentally strangle the goose and lose all the gold eggs that you'll ever get. It's like so silly. But anyways, probably was an experiment they quickly abandoned. But that's an expensive experiment. I don't even warrant that as an experiment. An experiment would have been once again a side game that was related to the universe, but was not necessarily Stellaris itself. Stellaris Empires or something. Like just add one. All you gotta do is add one extra name, and then you can make the story about whatever you want within the vast universe of created empires that exist, and the Stellaris handbook, and just boom, done. There you go. That would have worked for a filler game. It didn't even do that. That's why I vaguely even can call it an experiment. That would have to be a costly, stupid experiment. But it's like, then again, the worst is Frontier. They abandoned. Oh yeah, they abandoned Elite Dangerous. Yes, they did. I agree with that too. Frontier did fully, and that made me hella mad. Hella mad. I can't play that on my PC. My PC is not good enough to play that game. So that made me hella mad when I heard that. I don't know why they do this. It's so dumb. Yeah, but then you look at Microsoft, who does the smart decision and makes millions and countless hundreds of millions of dollars just by doing it right, slightly. And not even slightly, that's just me being kind of intuitive towards some games still in their own right weren't great already on their own. But look at how good Forza's already done. Look how good Oblivion has already done. Look, and can you imagine when Halo gets here and Gears of War? It's like, that's what you do. You take the game everyone was asking for that will make you this money, and you give it to them. It's so asinine to beat around the bush and try to cheat your way out and shortcut. You're just going to screw it up, and then you might as well not spend the money to begin with, because then it's a waste at that point. It really is. It's really sad to see that. But yeah, Frontier's definitely the worst. What's sad is there's another game I have a feeling that might get somewhat abandoned on console by them soon, but we'll see. Also, I think Frontier also makes that game I tried, that light speed farming thing, where it kind of plays like that farming game where you have a giant mech to tend to your farm. That kind of plays that one Love, Death, and Robots episode where you got to kill bugs and stuff, but you got to build up your farm and make a living while cleansing the world and defending your farm. That game, I think, is also made by Frontier. It's not on console, I don't think. Actually, I'm not sure. I have to actually look if they ever brought that to console or not. But yeah, Frontier definitely has the biggest habit when it comes to console to do this. So, well, all right, chat. We're gonna end it here for tonight. I gotta get off here so I can get some food in me. It is already 7:39. Gonna go eat some terrible, terrible, terrible food that is KFC and Taco Bell. Tastes good, but it's terrible for you. I got me some cheap taco, cheap burrito, and chalupa to eat. I'm not sure what I want to eat first. Probably. There's only two. I've got chicken strips from the KFC side left with some mashed potatoes. But I've got I got my chalupa taco, burrito, and my Dorito del Loco taco. So, I'm not sure what I'm going to eat yet first. I'm getting hungry just talking about it. Tim King said, GG, X4 has full controller support and has everything set for console port, yet has never done it. It does. I can vouch for this because what little of X4 will run on my PC since I have it, it definitely has controller support. I actually would be able to play it if my PC could run it. It cannot, as I found out. That's its limit. It's just too much for my my old girl here. Till she gets upgraded and I start pumping argent energy and radiation into my computer. This sounds like a terrible idea, by the way. Don't do this. This is not real. Don't do that. Just shouldn't have to say that, but just in case, don't do that. They've been edging consoles for years. Yes, they have. If that ever comes to console, I will get it on console because my PS5 will run that pretty swiftly, and we actually get to play it and try it for once, if it ever does. Otherwise, it's going to wait till I get upgraded on my PC. Realistically, come the end of this year, beginning of next year, at best. So, it also depends on the van when it determines whether that computer is getting done this year or next year. If the van actually gets fully finished, it's next year. Like if the van actually, like if we get lucky and the grant comes through and we get a new van, that's what I mean by that. Yeah, I will wait to upgrade my PC next year because I will put all of my funds towards the next part of the Project Rebirth, which will be getting me out of the current state I'm in and back home. So that depends on what happens with the grant, and I don't know how long they're going to take with that. I'm still up in the air with that. I hope something happens. Is it? Let's see. Heard they're adding diplomacy to that game. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, because I heard that there wasn't really much diplomacy in that game, at least on the fact of actually communicating through a diplomacy channels and actually like going and like saying, oh, our faction is this, your faction needs this, da kind of thing. You can technically negotiate on an individual level, which you already know this, Farseer, but for anyone out there who don't know how X4 works, but that is good to hear that it's going to be a actual diplomacy setting now or system that you can use now. That'd be cool. I've watched a lot of videos on X4. Never got to play it myself because my computer tanked on me in the tutorial. I knew it wasn't going to happen when the tutorial itself would not run. I was on the tutorial. It worked until I got out of the initial room to show this. Farseer can probably get what I mean. The original tutorial for X4 starts you in this little room, command room or bunk room, and you got to go out and got to go through the station and start learning things. The moment I got into the station part of it, holy hell, my computer basically had a stroke. It just could not handle it. I was like, oh, this ain't happening. As much as I love this game, it barely did the tutorials. We're gonna have to wait and play this another time. Sad face. But at least I own it. So when I do finally have the rig to play it, we're gonna play it once I do. So it's the X4 is a massive and healthy game with the size of that map. Exactly. And my computer was like, help! It's a Farseer said, by hard not. You can house diplomats in your headquarters. That's pretty dope. Interesting. Oh, I see. That's why I love X4 and where it's going. I will play it. Just the moment I can, we are going to play that. Just because I love the detail of the stuff you can do in there. It's basically Elite Dangerous mixed with Stellaris. Just to give you an example, Chad, of what X4 really is, it's Stellaris meets Elite Dangerous. And if that don't make your head go, what the hell? I'm not joking. You can range from living as just a pilot to a single ship to ruling an empire across planets. with your fleets and everything. You can command them, tell them what to do, and also pilot your own vessel you choose to command, switch between them, and control them manually. The game's brilliant. Like I said. But my computer is not so brilliant, so not able to play it. It's the #1 space game. It is. I do think it's the best space simulator game so far to ever exist. Compared to Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, and many of the others, I do think she's still the king of the castle. Or in this case, queen of the castle. It's like, nah. Hell, and especially against Star Citizen. Star Citizen had a good concept and could have beat X4, but it ruined that long ago. So, your game can't be better if it don't work. Just gonna say that. So, it's like, but otherwise, other than that one little exempt of the rule, who blew their own face off technically, yeah, king of the castle. No one has yet to beat X4 so far. At least fully. So. Also, fighters are manually equipped to your ships and require pilots that you can lose. Yeah. Everything has everything. Like I said, the detail that you have to have in Elite Dangerous, think of that and then mix it with Stellaris, as Farseer just explained. So even your small ships have to have pilots. So let's say you're a big ship with little fighter ships you can deploy. Every single one of those fighters has to have a pilot you have to recruit and have to keep alive. If they die, you lose the ability to pilot that ship until you get a replacement pilot. Just like real life. It's a heavy game, but a good game. Heavy and healthy, as they would say. Very nice and meat on the bone. And fleet logistics are a thing, like your ships need to be rearmed, resupplied. Yep. That's why one day we will definitely try it. Because I love logistics games, right? I do love logistics transport games like that. Simulator games like that. And I love space games. And I love strategy games. That thing is all three of those in one. So I'm like, excuse me? Did you just say to me? Because, like, that's why I wanted to play it so bad, but quickly came to a sadness that I'm just not capable right now. But we will do that when the computer reaches its point. Unless for some reason we get blindsided and within this year, X4 does come to console out of nowhere, and they decide to jump on the ship of no longer being exclusive like everyone else is doing, I'll take that too, because the PS5 could easily run it, and the Pro could run it in even more. So easily, with its hand tied behind its back. So, the Pro more so than the regular. The regular will have moments that it will chug, but the Pro won't see it at all. You won't even feel it. But that's if that ever happens, though. But if it does, we will be checking it out if that ever becomes a crazy alternative. So, but CR9 still waiting for SBY or a Gundam mod for that game. Oh my god, that would be great. Also, quick question before you go. I forgot to see if you answered it earlier. Did the mods update for Stellaris yet? For Gundam specifically. Because I do want to try it out and see how it plays. I want to see how the tech works. Plus, I've got to relearn Stellaris, it sounds like, again. So if they've changed the population mechanics, it means now once again I've got to fully relearn how that works. So, might as well do it with Gundams and Federation people. Fall flat on our face. And also, if I'm not gonna do Space Battleship Yamato, I don't need too many mods other than the overhaul, right? Because I remember it still needs the dynamic UI overhaul for Gundam as well. But other than that, I'm pretty sure I don't need any other mods if I'm not doing SBY, which I'm not going to on the first one. Gundam mod creator is still working on fixing it. Ah, okay. So it's not ready yet, so I can't try it tonight. I'll have to do something else. That means I need to go fix my truck. So I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm going to go see if I can fix my weird issue that's cropped up in Motor Town that I'm a little concerned about. That the developers might not have thought something through. I'm a little concerned, but we'll see. We'll talk about it when we play that game at some point more in depth when we do that with James. But I am a bit concerned. But either way. Because they've made my strongest truck somehow not able to carry the full weight of my tanker anymore. And I'm like, I changed to nothing. How is this less now? How is it carrying less? So, and hurting my axles more. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get around that. So. You see, but if you want to drown an opponent in ships, get gigastructures. Roger. I'll have to remember that. Right. Because the gigastructures are the ones that help build more mass ships. Okay. I remember you gave me that mod as well. I'll have to keep that in mind once it finally updates and I can try out the Gundam mod myself. Hopefully before Friday when James gets here and we're supposed to try to do this after, or no, we've got to do one more episode, right? Make or break for Warhammer. Also to remind everyone, and big shout out to Mad Lad James real quick before I end, Friday is Warhammer. I think it was Friday or Saturday James said his day off is. Whenever that happens, it is going to be our final episode of Warhammer 3 for a while, because we're going to be taking a break from it. Just to give it a break until the DLC for that drops. And I don't want to burn myself out on it either, as much as I play that game. I do love it, but there is still even a limit with me. So, it also makes me enjoy it more, but when I don't do that to myself. So, we're going to, whatever happens in our next episode with Kislev is whatever happens. Live, death, fire, frost, apocalyptic angry men, take out the queen, or the dynamic trio that's going to attack the angry man himself wins. One or the other. Don't know. Whatever happens, whatever happens. And then after that, once the mod updates, we're going to try to start a series on the special little Gundam thing we were just talking about. But let's see. There's a gigastructure in that mod that produces 15k alloys a month. Woo! That's actually quite a lot. I mean, I've gotten it higher than even 15K naturally, but dear goodness, one building doing this? Let me have this. Especially since mass production is going to be my strategy, because the Jaburo side of the Federation is going to suck more than the Dakar side, like Darius is going to get. So I'm going to need more ships rather than better ships. So that'll probably be maybe a thing I might want to think about. But either way, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much. To see, I know how much the Federation ships cost. So use that information as you must. Buy or not. Yeah, and mine are even better. That would be infinitely stupid with my build. Thank you for letting me know, Farseer. But I hope you enjoyed watching, everyone. And until next time, I will see you all tomorrow with the continuation of Doom Eternal, where we will delve straight into this, because I have a feeling if I start early enough tomorrow, which my intention tomorrow, if I don't have any, let me check my calendar so I don't tell you wrong. Okay, I have no appointments tomorrow and nothing I have to do tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to start at 1:30 to 2 o'clock tomorrow, or earlier, maybe even noon to 12:30 lunchtime, just because I want to get in this and get going, and get it done, so we can jump straight into the DLC either next day or the same day. So tomorrow's going to be a big one. We're just going to continue where we left off. I'm not going to go ahead any. I'm just going to go grind some extra continues for us to use in our battle against the demons, and my stupidity when I forget what a demon's attack pattern is, like I did with the I forget what it's called. What's it called in the arena? Whoops. But it's all right. But I hope y'all all enjoyed. And peace and love, and I will see you all tomorrow. And Takar also gets Gundam Banshee. What? Really? But wait, Banshee should be Unicorn, though. That would be Unicorn Federation. And they're their own... Their federation was stated in there. I mean, if it does, then that's a bit broken. But... it is the only one. So... that'd probably be okay. But peace and love, everyone. I hope y'all all enjoyed. Big shout out to my moderator, Farseer, in chat. Also, big shout out to her for telling us about the Gundam mods and the SBY mods for Space Battleship Yamato. That is going to help us set up. Well, the SBY one, not yet, but it's going to help us set up our new series coming up. And big shout out to Tam King and everyone who joined in chat in the background as well. Hope you're enjoying this rehashing of Doom Eternal and the hyping of Doom Dark Ages right around the corner at this point. Or at least, it's still a little ways for me because I didn't get the premium edition. It's on the 13th for me, the 9th for everybody else who got the big boy edition. So, yeah. But I hope to see y'all in our next one, and we shall be continuing this rage-filled infection of a journey in our next episode. But I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I will see you all in our next one.